block. To give you a sense of where we are, we're just a stone's throw from Lemoyne Owen College. We're also near Stacks Academy. We're in the heart of South Memphis right now. I'm going to take a step back, Elvis, if you don't mind tuning in. You can see right now we are here on Walker Avenue in the heart of South Memphis. You can see a lot of crime tape, a lot of police officers next to Cummings Elementary. We're not too far from I-240 as well. Here's what we know at this hour, according to Memphis police. At 9:15 a.m., officers responded to a shooting in the 1000 block of Cummings. Officers located one boy who was transported to LeBonheur in critical condition. Officers are clearing the building, and students and faculty members were being relocated to a staging area. Now, John, we can report, according to MPD at this moment, no other injuries have been reported, but no arrests have been made. This is obviously an active investigation. We are also waiting on word from Shelby County Schools. We've reached out to them, waiting on official word of the situation, not only with that child, but also the overall Cummings Elementary School as a whole. But we can confirm one child has been shot, taken to LeBonheur Children's Hospital in critical condition. John?
Obviously, a lot of questions that are circulating. This is certainly not news that any parent of a child wants to hear at this point. What do we know about how this all went down? What can you tell us about that?
We're waiting on those official details of what exactly happened. We know this did happen about an hour and a half ago at 9:15. That's when the first officers responded. Right now, just a lot of confusion, a lot of question marks going on right now. So we're waiting on gathering some official witnesses right now nearby the scene, but we're in the heart of South Memphis. I mean, this is still very much in the early stages. It's very active here in South Memphis. John?
All right, Brad Broders, we'll check back in with you here in just minutes. But in the meantime, just want to kind of update you as we look at the scene. So, Elvis, keep that shot up if you can. We know that Cummings Elementary is a K-8 optional school. We know that this is, again, in the heart of the South Memphis community near the intersection of Cummings and Walker, as you heard Brad there, not too far from Lemoyne Owen College. It has about 495 students that attend that school. Also, we're learning from Memphis police here that again, as the investigation is ongoing, officers are attempting to try and find a juvenile suspect. So we can only assume at this point that this perhaps was a classmate of that shooting victim. But again, Brad is trying to nail down those details for us right now from the scene. But if you are just joining us, we have live team coverage here after a child was shot at Cummings Elementary, again taken to LeBonheur Children's Hospital. Brittany Moncrief is on her way to that scene. We're going to check in with her to see what she is learning from there here in just seconds. But in the meantime, as you can see here on the screen right now, they have intersections blocked off. They have roads blocked off in front of the school after that child was shot. This happened around 9:15 this morning, according to Brad. That juvenile shooting victim, a male, we're told, was taken to the hospital. He's in current condition, critical condition, I should say, currently right now. Let's get back to Brad. He's obviously talking to parents on the scene. Brad, what are they telling you?
John. Ma'am, are you the grandmother?
I'm the grandma. Yes.
What's this like for you right now, just knowing this right now?
Well, she's been going through pure hell at this school anyway, so this is scary. Right now, it's very scary. We've been coming up here back and forth every day. I was up here the other day, where the kids. Yeah, I was up here the other day, and some young guy had a gun then with the teacher.
But this morning specifically, just what do you know? What's your reaction right now? Do you have a granddaughter?
A nervous wreck. Yes, I have a granddaughter that's here.
What grade?
Azaria Sims. She's in the 5th. Azaria Sims.
What was running through your mind when you heard about this?
A nervous wreck. I'm a nervous wreck right now because they're not telling us anything. The police didn't even want to let me come through. I'm talking to the news. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. I need to know because we've been going back and forth up here all this week because of these children and everything.
What's going to be your reaction? You'll see your granddaughter okay, presumably in a little while. How thankful will you be when that happens?
Be grateful. God knows I would be grateful just to know that she's okay. Because there's been so much going on at this school this last week. with her and other kids bullying her and everything, just to know that she's okay.
What do you think about this family of this boy right now that's been shot in critical condition at LeBonheur?
My heart goes out to him. My heart goes out. I pray that he make it. It's a sad situation. It's a very sad situation. And I pray to God that this child make it. The kids don't deserve this. They don't deserve. They need to do better with these schools. They really do.
This is the latest in just another child being shot here in the city of Memphis. How can you just wrap your head around this? This is the latest, especially in South Memphis. What do you make of this? This epidemic of children being shot?
It's sad. This world is sad. It's sad for these children to even have to carry guns to school to do things like this. I mean, it could be anybody.
How unfortunate is it? We're thinking about an elementary school. These kids should be learning. Instead, this whole area surrounded by crime tape. How do you make sense of that?
I don't make no sense of it. There's no sense of it. It don't make sense of it at all. They need to get better security. These children, they need to do more, have more guidance, first and foremost, not only from here at school, but at home too. Because it's ridiculous. Like I said, we've been coming back and forth up here to this school because of my granddaughter being bullied from 8th graders at that.
What grade is your granddaughter in?
In the 5th.
In the 5th grade. What do you hope will come out of this for the neighborhood, for the schools, to make things better?
Praise to God, it gets better. I hope that they get more security in these schools, more security around in this area, period. When children's got to come home, walking home, fighting and all of that, it's unnecessary. It's unnecessary. They need more security.
Ma'am, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I just hope and pray that my grandbaby all right. The child is at the hospital now, been transported. I pray that he be okay. God be with their family.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. All right, John, so you just heard there, that's just kind of a microcosm of what many parents and grandparents are feeling this hour around the Cummings Elementary School community. I mean, you can only imagine the unrest, the nervousness. They're still waiting on official word from SCS because, as we mentioned from the outset, John, not only has the child been shot and taken in critical condition to LeBonheur Children's Hospital, according to MPD, the schools were relocated to a staging location. So we're still working on getting the details of that because this shooting impacts obviously not only that child and his family, but also the broader Cummings Elementary School community. John.
All right, our Brad Broders, we're going to let you hit the ground and gather more information and perhaps talk to more parents who are out there obviously worried, easily to understand why. I know when I got the call, I was out grabbing lunch, and when I heard school shooting, I know my heart immediately just sunk. It just dropped. Wondering, where did this happen and if anyone was seriously hurt. So again, Brad Broders, see what you can get on the ground there. We'll check back in with you here in a little bit. Again, we have team coverage on this shooting. We have Brittany Moncrief on her way to LeBonheur to update us on the condition of that student who was shot. She's also going to gather details to let us know what is playing out at LeBonheur. But we can tell you that Shelby County Schools is acknowledging what happened here. They sent us a statement saying that they are aware of this incident at Cummings K-8 and will share preliminary information as soon as possible. The school, again, currently on lockdown as a safety precaution. Parents have been notified of the situation, and the district says that they're working with Shelby County School Security and the Memphis Police Department to gather more details on further updates. And you can see that statement here on the screen. That's coming down from Shelby County Schools. If you're just joining us here on ABC 24, just want to update you on what we know right now outside Cummings Elementary School. Around 9:15 this morning, we learned that a male student was shot. He is currently in critical condition at the hospital at LeBonheur. We're waiting to get further details from that scene here. That's coming up here in just minutes. We are told that students and staff members at Cummings Elementary are currently in a secure area. Here's what we know about Cummings Elementary right now. We know that it is a K-8 optional school. We know this is in South Memphis. Again, 495 students who attend that school. Let's get back to Brad Broders. He is on the scene for us right now. Brad, who are you talking to? What are they saying?
Witnesses right here on the ground tied to the school. Ma'am, what's your relationship with the students or this victim?
I have a daughter go here, and I have another daughter and a grandbaby.
All who go to Cummings Elementary. What have you heard about what's going on right now? What have you learned about the situation inside the school right now?
Only thing I heard that my daughter had texted me and told me it was a little boy in her classroom that was shot, and she said, "Mama, come and get me."
You're hearing the child was shot inside the classroom.
Inside, what she told me.
Inside the school?
Yeah, inside the school. I don't know if it was actually inside the classroom, but she know a little boy got shot. She said that little boy in her classroom got shot.
Do we know what grade that boy who was shot was in?
I think she's in the 8th, so he got to be in the 8th grade.
8th grade. So we don't know right now potentially if that was another student who had the gun that went off inside the building.
According to her, both of the kids attend this school. So, yeah, both of the kids attend the school.
Your niece is in 8th grade?
No, that's my daughter.
Daughter. I'm sorry, ma'am. That's right. You just told me that. So, ma'am, how are you dealing with this right now, knowing what happened so close potentially to your daughter?
It's heartbreaking that your daughter have to call you and let you know that she's been in it's an active shooter in the school and a little boy got shot. The school didn't alert us. My child did. If she not had her phone in the building, I would never know. I would have had to hear it from Facebook or either from the news.
Now, we're still sorting out all the specifics. We're going to get those. But if it was, in fact, a shooting inside the building, as your daughter was telling you, what kind of changes needs to be made security-wise in that building and in other school buildings?
Okay, I say this. Once the kids enter the building, they have to walk through, I think they might walk through a metal detector. But I think when they are late for school, they don't have to go through the metal detector. And they need to change. It needs to be a security at that building, in front of the building, wherever the kids enter. If they come to school 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, it still needs to be somebody there all day.
Ma'am, what was running through your mind just when you heard that initially, just your initial reaction from when your daughter alerted you what happened?
I was just shaking because I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know how serious it was. I didn't know it was my child, but she said it wasn't under her. I didn't know whose child it was, but my heart go out to anybody trying to send their kids to school to get an education. They need to be able to get an education. They shouldn't have to get a call from work or whatever, and their kids, people are shooting in the school. Yeah.
What's your first and last name, ma'am?
Shanika Boyd.
D-O-Y-D, all right. Got you. And your daughter's name is?
Jasmine Holloway.
All right. Thank you so much. Anything else you'd like to add right now just about, and the feelings of this child as well?
Yeah, I'm just praying for the family, for the child that got shot, and also for the child that did it. I don't know what's going through his head. I don't know why he did this, but anyway, I'm just praying for everybody, praying for the schools. You'll think it's COVID that's out here. We already fighting COVID. We trying to keep our kids safe in this building with COVID, but they bring a gun to school. That's worse.
All right.
I think they need to bring prayer in the school because prayer do work. They need to bring prayer back to the school.
Ma'am, last question. If you could just recap what you know right now according to your daughter. What has your daughter told you?
Okay, my daughter told me, she texted me, but I was at the tag place getting my tag. She said, "Mom, come and get me." She tried to call me. I tried to call her back. She said they weren't letting her use her phone. So she texted me and said, "Mom, come and get me." And I said, "I'm on my way." I said, "What happened?" She said, "A little boy just got shot in my school, in my class, one in his classroom." So I hurry up. All I know, I dropped everything I was doing. I probably could have got a speeding ticket, but I came up here to get my baby.
And look, we can see now, John, we're going to flip this camera around. Thank you so much, ma'am. John, this is live pictures right now. You can see these children are getting on the bus. As you mentioned a couple of minutes ago, John, this is a K-8 school. So you can see these children right here are getting on a bus. John, I mean, let's not lose sight of this image right now, Elvis. If you're I assume you're in on the crime tape being lifted. I mean, these are elementary school children that are being transported on a bus, going underneath crime tape of an active shooting investigation. This should not be a scene that should be normal in any community, any neighborhood in Memphis, Shelby County, the Mid-South. Yet right now, John, this is the images that we're seeing. We are seeing children going underneath crime tape as this light rain continues, getting on school buses. This is a situation going on right now, John. It's quite a scene. John.
And Brad, certainly heartbreaking as well, as you can see the images of those kids getting on the bus, again, going from that staging area for their safety to the bus. Then you also hear the stories from those frantic parents outside the school wondering if their child is okay or shaken up by what they may have seen or heard inside the school. If you're just joining us, you just heard Brad Broders talking with one of the parents there. What this parent learned from their child was that a boy was shot in the school. We're working to find out if it was in the classroom. This is possibly an 8th grader, but this is a school that features students all the way in K through 8th grade. And again, we're not sure if this was in a classroom where this shooting happened or if it was in the hallway. But certainly a lot of parents are very concerned about the information that they're getting from their children inside the school, calling, wanting to be picked up. And you can easily understand why. Brad, just shakes you to your core when you really think about what you're hearing and certainly what you're seeing there.
It's just unacceptable, John. I mean, first and foremost, it's unacceptable. I mean, we've been dealing with this epidemic of children being shot. I've been here 6 years. It's been an issue since I've been here. It was an issue before. It's going to be an issue after I'm here in this market. But this, especially here in the year 2021, this summer, as we're going late summer into the early fall, we continue to just deal with these children being shot. I mean, earlier this year, LeBonheur Children's Hospital, they were worried that they were going to have a record high of trauma cases that they had to deal with. Similar situations to this, children 17 and younger being shot and being transported in a trauma situation to LeBonheur Children's Hospital. You remember back in July, right after the 4th of July, 7-year-old Kelby Shorty, that story just drew a lot of attention. Just outside, minding his own business on the night of the 4th of July, that Sunday evening. There was some sort of drive-by. Kelby Shorty was not the intended target, but that didn't matter. There were bullets flying, and Kelby Shorty was hit, and Kelby Shorty died. Again, at this hour, this child that we has been shot and taken to LeBonheur, the information we have right now is critical condition. I want to make sure we have that clear, but still critical condition, serious situation as we can continue to see. Elvis, if you don't mind sliding a little over to the left here, I just want to kind of show you a little more of the active situation we have here. Thanks, Elvis, where more children are getting on the bus. I just want to make sure we instead of me standing in front of the camera, I want to kind of step away and keep talking. But John, I mean, we're talking about hundreds of students here that are getting on buses, leaving this area. I can hear in the distance more sirens going on. So John, I mean, this is in the middle of what should be a school day of learning, reading, writing, arithmetic. Instead, hundreds of K through 8 students in a Shelby County school in South Memphis, the heart of South Memphis, are being transported on buses, taken away. They're not learning.
Okay, obviously having a little bit of audio trouble with Brad there, but as you can see, just watch this very chilling picture here. Kids being taken from the school to a staging area for their safety after a child at Cummings K-8 optional school was shot. And these children are being put on a school bus. Again, you could see the police officers there kind of leading them to the bus. It certainly is just something that just really makes you shake your head and fear and wondering, what did the kids observe? What did they hear? And again, all of these methods are being taken simply for their safety. Again, Shelby County Schools issuing a statement acknowledging the shooting that happened at Cummings K-8. They said that they will release information to us as soon as possible. As you can see, the school certainly is on lockdown. In fact, police have the entire area in front of Cummings Elementary. This includes Cummings and Walker Streets, blocked off with yellow crime scene tape that you could see there. In fact, police at certain points here, as the kids walk to the bus, are lifting that crime scene tape. So we could see that this is a very large scene that they have blocked off. Shelby County Schools go on to say that parents have been notified of the situation and they are working with their security and Memphis police to gather more details about what went down there. We also are still waiting to hear from police about the investigation. Right now, we can tell you that officers are still attempting to locate a male suspect. We don't know the age of this child that they are looking for right now. But again, what parents have told us is that a boy inside the school was shot. This is what parents are learning from their children who attend school here, that a boy in the school was shot. We're not sure if it was in a classroom or a hallway. It's possibly an 8th grader. The mother of the child that attends the school there said that her child was an 8th grader. So we're trying to nail down that information for you. Let's get back to Brad Broders. Brad, we had some audio trouble with you earlier before we lost you. Go ahead if you're there with us.
Yeah, John, I'm back, so apologize for that live situation. Low battery here. We're back live right now. You can hear me. As you can see, John, you just mentioned, I was here in your previous comments. You can see these children are getting on the bus. You can see right now a district staff person with that vest and another person I would imagine is from the district SCS coming here on the campus right now. It appears, I'm looking in the distance, I can see about 6 or 7 buses. There's different groups of children lined up right now. You can see there's police officers by the basketball court. This is Chandler Park here. We're near College and Walker. They appear to be kind of doing it in staggered groups with different groups of children that are getting on one of several buses right now. The buses arrived probably about 10 or 15 minutes ago, and I believe they're gonna start coming this way in just a second, John, as each bus gets loaded one by one. And you can see right now, police on the phone right now as more children are walking. These children look a little older. I would put them, from my vantage point, probably middle school age, 6th or 7th grade, maybe 8th, because as you mentioned, this is a K through 8 school. We are going to have there's a media staging area in the next little while that we're going to be finding out some more information. So we're probably going to have to, in a few minutes, head over to that media staging location. We obviously want to hear the latest information, but right now we're still seeing, as children are being loaded on buses right now, just John, it can't be stated again. I mean, this is an active image right now. We are seeing children at a school from kindergarten through 8th grade getting on buses, being lifted up by crime tape because a shooting has occurred. According to that parent, now again, we want to clarify this officially, but according to that parent you just heard from, she said her daughter told her that the shooting happened actually inside the school building. When we first arrived on scene, we didn't know potentially was it on the same street as a school, near the school, but according to that parent, again, we need to confirm obviously officially, but according to that parent, the child was shot inside the school building. We don't know, was it in a classroom, again on a hallway, but that's the preliminary information we're hearing from witnesses after their children are contacting them through text or phone, of just telling them what's going on. John.
Our Brad Broders on the scene working to gather more information for us after a child is shot at Cummings Elementary. Again, police saying this all happened just after 9 this morning. Now, the shooting scene happened perhaps inside the school. We're still trying to nail that down, but according to a parent who reported their child caught them wanting to be picked up, that the shooting happened inside the school building. Now, with that said, this is certainly a scene that is taking us from outside the school doors where you see Brad Broders. There is a media staging area where police are going to release more information. This is about a block away from where Brad is, near Somerville and Walker. And so we have a member of our team on the scene there getting those details for us. We also have our team at LeBonheur Children's Hospital, because that, according to police, is where that child was taken in critical condition at this hour. But if you're just joining us right now, you are looking at the screen here of police taking those students who were taken from the school to a staging area for their safety and putting them on school buses. We're still trying to nail down where exactly they're going to take the students from that point. Once they're on the buses, are they going to go home? Are they going to go to a community center? Are they going to go to another school? We're still waiting to kind of hear. We know it's raining. We could see it's raining. So maybe they're just putting them on the buses to get them out of the rain in the meantime. As you could see, there's some kids here with shorts on. A lot of kids here with no jackets, maybe a hoodie, but especially on the left-hand side of your screen, you could see a kid just getting soaked in the rain there while police continue their investigation. There's a lot we don't know at this point. We're still waiting to hear from Shelby County Schools about further information on what happened here. They are confirming this incident happened at Cummings K-8. They will release more information for us as soon as they get that. We're also waiting for information about that teen or child who fired the shot at the student. So as soon as we get all of that information, we'll be sure to let you know. But again, ABC 24 is live outside of Cummings Elementary. This is near the intersection of Cummings and Walker in South Memphis, just yards away from LeBonheur College. News that no parent wants to hear: a shot or shots fired at their child's school. Here's what we know about Cummings Elementary. It's a K-8 optional school in South Memphis. It has about 495 students in grades K through 8. One of the parents on the scene said that their daughter told them that one of the students shot was a boy. They believe the child was shot inside the school. That's what she heard from her daughter, possibly an 8th grader. We, again, are trying to nail down if this happened inside the classroom or a hallway. As soon as we get those details, we'll be sure to let you know. Meteorologist Chelsea Chandler is here keeping her eye on the travel situation there. Chelsea, we could see roads are blocked off. What are you seeing in the traffic center?
Yeah, I went ahead and blocked off anything that wasn't actually involved with this specifically. You can see, am I having big trouble?
I can hear you. We can hear you, but it just sounds very faint. But go ahead.
That's okay. Well, I guess not. We do have it to where it is blocked off right now. I'm going to give you in just a moment some alternates. We're going to get some things that are changed, but yeah.
All right, Chelsea, we're going to come back to you. Want to get back to Brad Broders, who is on the scene there. Brad, catch us up. What are you learning?
Well, John, right now we're seeing more and more children getting loaded onto those school buses. You can see I'm counting at least 7 buses right here on College Street next to Walker Avenue. This is right next to the school. You can still see as police officers right now are holding up crime tape, letting hundreds of children at Cummings Elementary, again, you mentioned a K through 8 optional school here really in the heart of South Memphis, being taken to another location. We're working to hammer down official word of where they are going. We have heard an unconfirmed report about where they are heading, but we're working to confirm that right now, and we have a photographer heading to that location we believe that they're being taken to right now. John, from my vantage point, it appears that this is the last group of children that are being put on buses. You could see a little earlier, clearly another line that was waiting kind of in a staggered fashion. But right now, from what I see, this appears to be the last group of students that are being taken on these buses from my vantage point. I'm counting, again, at least 7 or 8 buses. They're all in our direction, so they're going to be turning presumably onto Walker Avenue in presumably just a minute or two once the remaining children get on the bus. But John, I mean, this is the middle of the morning, and again, these students, instead of being in the classroom learning, they are getting on buses to another location because a child inside the building, according to that parent, is now in critical condition at LeBonheur Children's Hospital. A suspect. At this hour, we do not have any information about anyone apprehended. There's going to be a media staging area that we're going to find more information in just a little while. So we're going to continue to monitor this, John. But again, middle of the morning, and children, instead of being in the classroom, are being taken on buses to another location after a student, according to parents, shot inside the building somewhere. And we're anticipating getting additional information exactly what part of the school this happened in, but that's the situation we're in right now, John.
All right, Brad, we'll let you go there as we kind of reset and update our viewers who might be tuning in for ABC 24 News midday at 11. We are on the scene of breaking news for you this midday. Police telling us that a child was shot inside Cummings Elementary. This is a K-8 optional school in South Memphis, just yards away from LeBonheur College. Has about 495 students who attend school there. Police also telling us that they are actively searching for that teen gunman, shooter, I should say. They're trying to locate that person right now. No other injuries reported at the school. As you can imagine, a lot of Frantic parents are outside the school working to try and pick up their child, who are, as you can see here, they're being put on school buses at this point after they were taken to a staging area for their safety. Again, this is certainly news that no one in our community wants to hear, especially in light of recent events in Collierville after a shooting just last week. It was 7 days ago that happened. This is creating some travel troubles as well. As you can see here on the screen, that police have multiple areas blocked off in front of the school, including Cummings and Walker. We learned that there is a media staging area. This is where we will be able to get updates from police, and that is happening about a block away at Somerville. Obviously, another area that we are keeping track of is LeBonheur Children's Hospital, because that is where this child shooting victim was taken, currently in critical condition. We're going to check back with Brad Broders here in just a second. But let's check in with meteorologist Chelsea Chandler in the traffic center. Chelsea, this is showing up on your traffic center.
Yeah, it did actually show up as an incident. So just to give you perspective of where this is in the city, if you aren't familiar with where this school is, it is just outside the loop, just outside of downtown Memphis. So when we zoom in, you are going to see, again, just some of the other accidents that are in the area. But again, Walker Avenue, that's exactly where we have it shut down at this moment. Again, once they start escorting, I assume they're going to have a police escort for these buses. Again, you're going to have to give them the right of way. Of course, you want to give them the right of way, but Macklemore, that's going to be an easy option for you. To the east, you've got Bellevue. The good news is there are a lot of side streets that you can take, but obviously this is exactly where the school is, exactly where you do not want to be at this time because, again, it is shut down. There's a large police presence. They're going to be escorting these children in these school buses fairly soon. But again, that is Walker and Cummings. Again, you've got anywhere from Crump Boulevard, you've got Lamar, you've got Macklemore. You could even hop on 240 if you needed to get around this area. College Street can take you around it, but again, Walker and Cummings, that's going to be the main area that you need to avoid at this time. Just once again to give you perspective of where that is in the city. It is just the south of downtown Memphis, just south of where the 40 loop is. So that is where we're keeping an eye on, and once we get any more information where they're taking these children, where they block any more roads off, I'll continue to give you updates.
All right, Chelsea, thank you. Let's check back in with ABC 24's Brad Broders. Brad, what are you seeing now?
John, it appears the buses are about to roll out any minute now to that staging location. So we're gonna keep an eye on it right now. But again, just to recap, if you're just joining us, if you just joined in the last couple of minutes, MPD says a child. There's a little situation over there. A child has been shot, taken to LeBonheur Children's Hospital in critical condition. A parent on the scene a couple of minutes ago telling us that, according to her daughter, a student was shot by another student somewhere inside Cummings Elementary School. We're working to confirm details. There's going to be a staging area that's set up. Hopefully within the hour we'll get more specifics of exactly what happened. But in the last 20-30 minutes, we have seen a staggering amount of group after group, presumably grade after grade, being loaded on buses. Behind me, you can see some other support staff right now here on the scene. We're on College Street and Walker Avenue in the heart of South Memphis. Cummings Elementary, a K-8 optional school where, according to a witness on scene, a parent of another student at Cummings, saying that a shooting happened inside the building. We do not know if it was in a hallway, a common area of the building, inside an actual classroom. As of this very moment, no suspects have been apprehended according to police, but again, that student is in critical condition at LeBonheur Children's Hospital. We have team coverage throughout. We have a team at where we have been told is the staging area. We have a team at LeBonheur. We're right here next to Cummings Elementary School, where still a very fluid situation, a very active situation in South Memphis. We're not far from LeBonheur College, as Chelsea was just giving you some landmarks. We are really in the heart of South Memphis, not far from Stacks, not far from LeBonheur. You can see some other staff members are leaving the campus right now, as it appears these buses are going to be going to that staging area any minute now. John.
All right, ABC 24's Brad Broders on the scene for us there. Let's flesh out what we know right now for our viewers at home who may be joining us here for ABC 24 News Midday at 11 o'clock. Here's what we know. This shooting happened around 9:15 this morning at Cummings KA Optional School. We've learned that one child was shot. That child was taken to LeBonheur Children's Hospital in critical condition at this hour. Students and faculty were moved to a staging area. This was for their safety. We have since learned and have seen with our own eyes that some of those students were being taken from that area onto school buses. Those buses were in front of the school. You saw a lot of that play out as we checked in with Brad. Officers are also working, trying to find a child who shot the other student. They're actively searching for that child right now. They say it is a male juvenile suspect at this hour. So that is what we know here in the 11 o'clock hour. This all happened again around 9 this morning. We're on the scene gathering details in several places. LeBonheur Children's Hospital, the media staging area, just a block away from where Brad is right now, and of course where Brad is in front of the school. We've had a chance to talk with a lot of frantic parents. Brad, you had one parent telling you they believe the boy was shot inside the school, possibly an 8th grader, but we haven't been able to nail down if this happened in a hallway or a classroom.
And John, that's one of the major questions we hope to find out in the next hour, presumably when we get that information at that staging center. After these buses leave, we hope to maybe get over there, obviously, ourselves. We have another crew there, but just so we can continue this live coverage with additional information. But again, the buses are about to roll out any second now. Here, I'm going to take a step out, John, and we're going to just get these buses leaving right now. And I'm going to keep talking, but you can see right now the first of these buses are rolling out right now here from the school, going to that staging location. We have a crew and a photographer at that staging location. This is middle of the morning. This is not a normal pickup or drop-off time on a normal school day. This is children unexpectedly leaving their school in the middle of the day at this K-8 school with hundreds of children. They should be learning right now. Instead, they're riding on a school bus to an undetermined location. We think we know where it is right now. They're going to a staging area because a shooting happened, what we've been told, inside Cummings Elementary School. Again, we're working on where exactly that happened. Was it the hallway, a common area, a classroom? But here are the buses rolling out right now, John. It's 11:10, so this is pretty much about 2 hours after this shooting happened. As several buses are rolling out, they are filled with children, all grades, kindergarten through 8th grade, following the shooting on campus at the school 2 hours ago, according to witnesses. And John, another point worth re-emphasizing is there's a lot of worry, obviously, from these other parents of other students, but there's now the question of what's next. How can the school improve security? How can the school do things better? What security measures are in place? If a gun did get inside the school and the child was shot, how did that weapon get inside the school? A lot of questions of how to improve the situation security-wise, and you would have to imagine that there's going to be a big review, not only at this school, but system-wide, district-wide, of how to improve the safety of students after this shooting happened. Again, a parent telling us that this happened inside the school. A student shot, again, in critical condition at LeBonheur Children's Hospital. John?
All right, our Brad Broders on the scene for us, reporting live there. Brad, thank you for that update. And again, you've heard Brad talking with several parents since our live coverage began here about 45 minutes ago. A lot of parents are very frantic, and it's easy to understand why. A lot of parents have a lot of questions, and it's also easy to understand why, especially when something like this happened. We talked with one of the parents, Brad did. This parent told Brad, according to her daughter inside the school, the boy was shot in the school. We're still trying to nail down if it was a classroom or a hallway. Now, this parent also shed light on possible security concerns inside the school building, saying that students walk through metal detectors on the way into school, but if they're late, she said that she has witnessed where that is not the case. The students don't walk through the metal detector. So that's certainly one of the questions that we're going to have for Shelby County Schools and police there as soon as we get a chance to talk with them. All right, let's set the scene for you, let you know where our team is covering this story for you. We have Brad Broders outside Cummings Elementary. This is near Cummings and Walker, just yards away from LeBonheur College. This is a K-8 optional school that has about 495 students. And as you can see, they were moving many of those kids away from that staging area to the school buses. We also have our team at LeBonheur Children's Hospital working to gather information for us there as we have learned that that student who was shot was taken there and is currently in critical condition. We also have a member of the ABC 24 team at the media staging area where police are about a block away from where you're seeing this all play out. That is near Somerville and Walker Streets there. All right. Meteorologist Chelsea Chandler continues our team coverage. Chelsea, as we have seen, police have a lot of area in front of the school blocked off, and it's creating some travel issues in that direction.
It's definitely going to cause some issues the later in the morning we get. We're about to get into the lunch hour, but right now, just so you can see perspective-wise where that is, it is just outside of the 240/40 loop, again, in the South Memphis area. So we'll zoom in so you can see exactly what we're talking about. There's Walker, and then we zoom in a little closer. You can see exactly where it's closed, where the police presence is between College Street and Cummings. I do imagine they will probably expand that as they continue their investigation. As far as alternate routes, places that you may want to use, because obviously you're not going to be able to go through this area. You're going to want to give emergency responders and those detectives the right of way there. You're going to have different options. Macklemore is a good one. Mississippi Boulevard is another good one. If you went to the east, you could use, again, you've got Bellevue, so there are different options, but again, this is going to be the area that we want to avoid the most because, again, this is exactly where police presence is between College Street and Cummings on Walker. It is closed, and it is obviously big enough a deal. I mean, John mentioned it showed up in my traffic system, which isn't always common. That's typically just for traffic, so it's going to be enough of an issue so that you will have those options. Macklemore, Mississippi Boulevard, Bellevue, those are your best bets. You can also hop on 240 and just avoid the area altogether.
All right, Chelsea, thank you. We know that this is at least the second school shooting in Tennessee this year. According to records here from our news team, as we gather information about, what's happening here, we know that back in April, a teen was shot and killed by police at a Knoxville area high school. But it counts. And so here we are again as police investigate what happened inside this school that features students as young as kindergarten, if you can believe that. Our Brad Broders is on the scene there. Let's check back in with him as we watch some of the video that is just into the newsroom from what has been a chaotic 2 hours outside of Cummings Elementary School. This all went down around 9:15 this morning. If we can get to Brad, let's get him into the conversation just to update us on what he's seeing there and if he's had an opportunity to talk with more parents. Brad?
John, a lot of the parents have kind of cleared from the scene right now. When we were here, there were a couple dozen at least. They have moved because a lot of them have been told to go to that staging area. We hope to break away from this in just a couple of minutes where apparently there's an update. We have another crew at a staging location right now. More buses are leaving, as you can see right now behind me. More buses heading off College Street, Walker Avenue to that staging area. Hundreds of students are on probably a dozen buses right now. The first of those buses started rolling out about 5 minutes ago to that staging area. We have a crew at that staging area looking to gather more details. Been a little tethered here, obviously. A lot of images and fluid situation happening here. We have teams throughout at other places as more information is being provided. But with my eyes and ears right now on the scene, I can tell you buses are leaving, going to that staging area, John.
All right, Brad Broders live for us in front of the school. We can tell you that right now Shelby County Schools is updating us on what is going on there. We have a member of our team there working to gather details. We'll bring you that here just as soon as we get it. But again, if you are just joining us here on ABC 24 at 11 o'clock, urgent breaking news that we're following for you after a child was shot at Cummings Elementary, rushed to LeBonheur in critical condition at this point. We have members of our team in multiple spots all over the city working to gather details on this for you. Let's get an update from ABC 24's Brittany Moncrief, if we can. Brittany, I know you're just getting to LeBonheur. What have you learned? Brittany, if you can hear us, I know you're just getting to LeBonheur. What can you tell us right now?
That's right, John. We got to LeBonheur probably about a few minutes ago, and when we arrived here at LeBonheur Children's Hospital, right outside the emergency entrance, we saw about 4 police vehicles parked outside and also an ambulance truck. Now, right now, there hasn't been much activity coming in and out of the hospital, but again, like I said, there are those 4 vehicles that have been parked there, police vehicles with their lights on. And just to give a little quick recap again, this shooting happened just shortly after 9 o'clock this morning on Cummings, or 1037 Cummings. That's right near Cummings Elementary, and we're told that when police arrived on the scene at that location, they did find one boy who was shot and was transported here to LeBonheur Children's Hospital in critical condition. Now, as of right now, we don't know if as of right now, there hasn't been any other injuries reported and no arrests made, but we'll be sure to stay here and to keep you updated as we learn more about this shooting. In the Memphis Medical District, Brittany Moncrief reporting.
Brittany, thank you for that update. Let's share what we know right now here in the 11 o'clock hour. This all went down around 9:15 this morning, according to police at Cummings Elementary. We, again, as you just heard from Brittany, have learned that one shooting victim was taken to LeBonheur Children's Hospital. We have learned that students and faculty members are being taken to what was a staging area. Then they were put on school buses. We're working to nail down where they're being taken in the meantime. What we've been able to confirm at this point is that the shooter is a student at the school and that a 13-year-old was shot. And that kind of backs up to what a parent was telling us when we checked in with Brad about 20 minutes ago. She believed the boy was in 8th grade simply because her daughter, who is an 8th grader, learned about the shooting so quickly. We're still trying to nail down if the shooting happened in a classroom or a hallway. Officers, again, trying to nail down that student shooter, trying to find where he is this midday. All right, let's check back in with ABC 24's Brad Broders outside the school. Okay, I'm so sorry. I thought we had Brad. We do not have Brad at this point. He is on the ground gathering information for us. Let's check in with Chelsea if we can. She's in the traffic center, keeping her eye on the situation there. Chelsea, what can you tell us?
Yeah, I was just trying to give you another perspective. Let's start from the beginning so you know exactly where this situation is. Again, in the heart of South Memphis, this is Walker Avenue, where it is shut down between Cummings and College Street. So that is exactly where the school itself is. You can actually see it if you can see my mouse circling that school just underneath the blue part of the police signal. So again, between College Street and Cummings Street, that is where we have the actual incident itself. Now that we know where the staging area is, that's going to be just a little bit further east. So as I take you over there, that's going to be at Somerville. That's right here, Somerville Street. So just on the other side of the interstate. So you're going to imagine that's going to be blocked off as well. So again, you're going to need to avoid all of these areas. There's Somerville, there's Walker. Options for you. You've got plenty, so that's the good news. You've got Macklemore, you've got Mississippi Boulevard, you've got Bellevue. You can go north. You could take Lamar, either get on 240 or cross past it and take it to Crump. So again, you just need to avoid Neptune may be an option for you, but that's pushing it. That's very close to College Street. Again, I would just avoid that unless you live in this residential area that is just adjacent to the school. I imagine a lot of those students are from several of these areas. But again, this is going to be probably an ongoing situation for a while, so we'll keep you up to date as to when they are reopened.
All right, Chelsea, we just got new information. Again, we have our team everywhere, and they are getting us new information from Shelby County Schools. They just wrapped up a news conference moments ago. Here's what they are telling us. Again, that 13-year-old student was shot. The suspect was a student, is now in police custody after turning himself in. Now, what we've learned is that the student apparently fired the shot, then took off in an unknown vehicle and left the school. Well, now police telling us and the Shelby County Schools telling us that that student is now in police custody. Officers, as you could see, a number of them on the scene outside the school. We were told they conducted a search inside the school to make sure that everyone was okay. Also trying to nail down the suspect before he turned himself in. They evacuated the school and searched for any other victims inside the building. Again, all we have learned at this point is that it's just the one student who was shot, and they're currently at LeBonheur in critical condition, as we learned from ABC 24's Brittany Moncrief. We have talked with a number of parents on the scene who are just frantic, and you can easily understand why they would be so upset by the events that have certainly happened here about 2 hours ago. In fact, let's take a listen to what one parent told us about what happened.
My heart goes out to him. My heart goes out. I pray that he make it. It's a sad situation. It's a very sad situation. And I pray to God that this child make it. The kids don't deserve this. They don't deserve, they need to do better with these schools. They really do.
Then my daughter had texted me and told me it was a little boy in her class that was shot. And she said, "Mama, come and get me."
And that mother that you see here on the screen, it was that mom who told us when we talked with her that she believed the boy was a possible 8th grader. Age 13, he could be in 7th or 8th grade, but certainly in the upper level of that elementary school kind of grade level. If you kind of understand what I'm saying there, because the school features students in grades K through 8, it's certainly one of the upperclassmen inside the building. Again, as we continue to gather details, we can tell you that a 13-year-old was taken to LeBonheur Children's Hospital. The shooting suspect is a student at the school who has since turned himself into police custody at this point. Police have searched the building, have determined that there are no other victims inside the school, but we can tell you that this is still very much under investigation. A lot of parents have a lot of questions. In fact, one of the mothers that we talked to raised some security concerns about their child in the school, simply saying that students walk through metal detectors when they first walk in the building. But if students are late to school, this parent told us this is something that does not happen. And as soon as we get a chance to talk with Shelby County Schools again, we'll be sure to ask them that information. Police are creating a media staging area to help us learn more about what happened. That's just a block away from the school there. But this is, again, just a very sad situation overall. A week since we had the Collierville mass shooting that injured a dozen people and killed one woman. Here we are back at it again as officers investigate another shooting, this time in South Memphis. We have team coverage. Let's check in with ABC 24's Brittany Moncrief live outside of LeBonheur. Brittany, what are you seeing there? What are you learning?
Well, John, that's right. We're right outside of LeBonheur Children's Hospital. We're right outside the emergency entrance. Right now, there's about 4 different police vehicles that are parked outside with their lights on. We did see an ambulance that was there shortly a while ago, but they just left. The vehicles are still there. We haven't seen too many people coming in and out of the hospital at this time, but we were told that this is where the boy who was shot near Cummings Elementary, this is where he was taken to in critical condition. So we are staged right outside near the emergency entrance. And again, right now, we haven't seen a lot of people coming in and out, but there are at least 4 different police vehicles that are waiting right outside of the hospital. And again, we'll be here to give you all the updates as we learn more information. In the medical district, I'm Brittany Moncrief reporting.
All right, Brittany, thank you. Right now, we're trying to nail down a location. We saw earlier this morning a number of kids that were evacuated from the school, then sent to a staging area. Then they were put on school buses. We're trying to nail down that exact location of where they were being taken because we simply don't know if they were just putting them on the buses to get out of the rain. Are they taking them to another school, perhaps LeBonheur College, maybe a nearby church? Once we get that information nailed down, we will be sure to let you know. But we certainly saw in some of that video here and in Brad's live update from just a few minutes ago that the buses were leaving in front of the school as police continued their investigation there. As we approach the 11:30 half hour, let's just kind of update you once again if you're just joining us here on what exactly is happening in South Memphis outside of Cummings Elementary School. Certainly some urgent breaking news that we're following for you this morning. Around 9:15 this morning, police began investigating after reports of a shooting inside the school. We have learned that a child was shot and is currently in critical condition at LeBonheur Children's Hospital. Right now, again, we have been able to confirm that the students were evacuated from the school along with teachers and then moved to a staging area as police combed the school to make sure that no one else was hurt, to make sure that no one else was inside the school, perhaps jeopardizing the students' and teachers' safety. And they, again, are processing the scene, gathering evidence and gathering information to try and nail down exactly what happened. We have learned the shooting suspect, which is a student at the school, is currently in police custody. That child reportedly shot the student, according to police, and then left the school in a car and then eventually turned himself into police. Our Brad Broders got a chance to talk with some parents there. Those parents tell us they believe the boy was shot inside the building. We're trying to nail down if it was a hallway, you know, with students past classes, or if it was in the classroom as learning was going on. But as you can easily understand why, so many parents outside the building were just frantic. They were very upset. They had a lot of questions. Shelby County Schools is actively giving us that information. They just wrapped up a news update about 5 to 10 minutes ago. And in that's where we learned that a 13-year-old was in fact shot and that the student turned himself in. We're also working to gather information from police, and we're also keeping our eye on what's happening outside LeBonheur, waiting for updates from the hospital there about that child's current condition. We know it's critical, but any details and updates will certainly help us as we continue to follow this story and what exactly is happening there. Let's get an update from meteorologist Chelsea Chandler. She's continuing our team coverage for you here this midday. Chelsea, certainly an active scene is showing up on your traffic maps as well.
Yeah, thankfully this isn't a time of day where we see a whole lot of traffic in this area. It is fairly residential. It's near that school. But just to give you perspective of where this is, it is right in the heart of South Memphis. So as I progress this map, you'll be able to see where exactly it is. There we go. It is closed right now between Cummings and College Street. So you see where that police bar is. That's where I placed it, between College and Cummings Street, so you know exactly where the closure is. If you can see my mouse just below the blue bar, that's the school itself. So that's where the staging is going to be. The actual staging for the press, that is going to be Somerville Street, just on the other side of 240. So that'll be at Somerville and Walker. So obviously going to need to be avoiding this area. As far as alternates, well, the good news is, again, this isn't a heavily traveled area during this time, but you do have Macklemore to the south. You've got Mississippi Boulevard to the west. You do have some that are nearby. I don't know that I would necessarily take areas like Neptune Street, because that is just too close to what's going on unless you live directly in this area. Otherwise, you have Crump Boulevard, you've got Lamar, you've got Bellevue. These are all things, yes, they are going to give you, take you a little bit longer to get to where you're going, but at this point, we need to give emergency responders, obviously, the right of way, give them the time they need, the space they need, and we could see this actually expand as their investigation continues, just to kind of keep people away from the scene itself. off. But again, that is going to be Walker Avenue. It's closed between Cummings and College Street. Again, that is exactly where the school is. But I do imagine as more news of this does begin to get out, they'll probably expand that closure just to keep people away from the scene as best as possible. So again, next we will see will be the presser, the staging at Walker and Somerville, just on the other side of 240, and you can see that's at least a block away. But again, so you got to avoid that street because they're not going to let you pass through that either. You do again just need to stick to Macklemore and Bellevue on that side of the incident. But we'll continue to keep an eye on it. Right now, not seeing anything else as far as traffic in this area. The main thing is just to avoid that specific area of Walker, Cummings, and College Street.
All right, Chelsea, thank you for that update. Again, we are staying on top of the developments on this urgent breaking news that has been developing for the last 2 hours or so. A child shot inside Cummings Elementary School, a K-8 optional school in South Memphis. The school has about 495 students who attend school there. Again, K through 8 are the grade levels inside the building. We also know that this is at least the second school shooting in Tennessee this year. Here's what we know right now. This happened again around 9:15 this morning. A child is currently in the critical condition right now at LeBonheur Children's Hospital. That child is 13 years old. The shooting suspect was a student at the school and has turned himself into police. Again, that child in police custody after firing the shot and, according to police, leaving the school building in an unmarked car. We have our team everywhere covering the developments here on ABC 24. Brittany Moncrief is outside LeBonheur Children's Hospital for us. Brad Broders on the scene gathering more information outside of Cummings Elementary School. And we have our team members at the media staging area where Memphis Police will be giving us an update, as well as Shelby County Schools. So we have our team everywhere working to gather more details just so that we can make sure that we are very transparent in learning, and what we learn we pass to you so that you can stay in the know on all of the developments. Let's get an update right now from ABC 24's Brittany Moncrief. Brittany's outside LeBonheur Children's Hospital where that boy was taken hours ago. Brittany, what can you tell us?
That's right, John. We got here probably about 15 minutes or so ago, and when we arrived, we noticed there were about 4 police vehicles, some marked, some unmarked, right outside of the LeBonheur Children's Hospital near the emergency entrance. That's where we are. Right now, we haven't been seeing a lot of people come in and out, but we are told that this is where the 13-year-old victim was taken, and he is in critical condition. Now, we've been waiting here. There was an ambulance truck that was parked right behind the police vehicles that are behind me. That ambulance truck has left, but those police vehicles have been here since we arrived here. Again, we haven't seen anyone come in and out yet. Not a lot of movement, but the police are there. Their lights are on, and there's a combination of unmarked and marked vehicles. And we'll stay here to keep you updated with the latest information. In the medical district, I'm Brittany Moncrief reporting.
All right, Brittany, thank you for that. As we continue to play out what exactly went down, a lot of parents outside the school were frantic and upset after learning that a child was shot inside the school. In fact, on the video here on the screen, you could see a lot of parents standing outside the school hoping to pick up their child. Many of them receiving phone calls from their children telling them they need to be picked up. A child was shot inside the school. We got a chance to talk with 2 parents, and let's take a listen to what they had to say. All right,
my heart goes out to him. My heart goes out. I pray that he make it. It's a sad situation. It's a very sad situation. And I pray to God that this child make it. The kids don't deserve this. They don't deserve. They need to do better with these schools. They really do.
Then my daughter had texted me and told me it was a little boy in her class that was shot. And she said, "Mama, come and get me."
And there's still a lot that we don't know right now. Again, we know the shooting victim is 13. We know the shooter is a teen at the school as well, a child who attends the school as well. But we don't know if the shooting happened in the common area, the hallway, if it happened inside the classroom. But one of the parents alluding that they believe the shooting victim was an 8th grader, as her child is an 8th grader. Obviously, a lot of upset parents. I know when I got the call that we were coming in and breaking into programming to update you on this breaking news, you know, when I heard that it was a school shooting, my heart dropped just because of the fear that, you know, something like this would happen at your child's school. So I can only, my heart goes out to all of the parents there because, again, even if their child was not affected directly, it certainly is something that will leave their children shaken up. Especially when it comes to safety at the school. We're also working to nail down security protocols at the school as well, because one of the parents we talked to told us that students pass through metal detectors on the way inside the building, but when children are late to school, that's not something that happens. So again, a lot of parents with a lot of questions, a lot of parents with a lot of concern after this 13-year-old was shot in the school grounds. And we have learned there are a number of agencies and universities and colleges that track school shootings that happen all over the country. This is the first time in at least 5 years in Memphis that a child or someone was shot inside a building. There have been a number of reports of shootings that have happened, you know, outside school buildings, in the parking lot of school buildings, outside of school property. We're seeing a list here in 2020, 2019, but the first time in years that we have seen something like this play out. This is one of two shootings in a school in Tennessee this year. We told you here at the top of the hour that back in April, a teen was actually shot and killed by police at a high school in Knoxville after bringing a gun into school. And again, the outcome, that teen who brought the gun to school was killed by officers there. Again, your heart just certainly goes out to all of the parents, as you can see here, waiting outside the school to pick up their children. And we are also getting new details in again. So I'm glad you're staying with us because a lot of information is coming in fast and furious, and we're trying to stay on top of all of the developments. We told you earlier that the students were in the school. They were evacuated as police combed the school building and as part of their training, make sure that no one else was hurt and make sure that there were no other, you know, people inside the school that could jeopardize safety. Well, we have since learned that those students who were taken on those school buses have been taken to a nearby church, the Metropolitan Church, which is not far from the school. That is where they are taking those students. Metropolitan Baptist Church is the exact name of the church, and that is where parents will be able to go to pick up their children. We have since confirmed that information for you. Again, just a very fluid situation as we continue to learn details from Shelby County Schools, as we continue to learn from Memphis Police, as we continue to learn from our team on the ground outside LeBonheur at the media staging area at Somerville and Walker and in front of the school building. So again, if you are a parent with a child at Cummings Elementary, your child, if you're not picking them up, those children were put on buses and taken to Metropolitan Baptist Church. That is where you'll be able to go and pick up your child. Let's, as we hit 11:40 this morning, let's update you on what we know right now. This all happened around 9:15 this morning at the school. This is coming up on 2.5 hours. And let's talk with, before we update you, let's check in with ABC 24's Jenny DePrizio. Jenny, we see that you're outside the school. What have you learned? What can you tell us?
Hey, I want to show you, we are here at the Metropolitan Baptist Church. As you can see, there are parents here lining up. What we're hearing right now is that the parents in the front of the church are apparently elementary school parents, and then there's some middle school parents that have been brought in on the side. They're going to be reuniting with their children on the side of the building. It is a little hectic out here because police have been kind of, you know, not shouting commands, but telling people where to go through some sort of bullhorn, and it's been a little confusing. But as you can see, there are parents here lined up in the rain. They're just waiting to be let in, to be reunited with their children. At this point, we don't know how that's going to work. I don't know if they're going to let 10 in at a time, a few in at a time. I don't know exactly the procedure. Nobody here has told us that yet, but that's where things stand right now. Just geographically, we are sitting directly next to LeMoyne-Owen College, for those folks who know this area, right on Walker Street. So it's an urban area, and there's parking's kind of difficult. Parents are kind of parking all over the place, waiting to pick up their kids. We will, of course, let you know when that starts happening. For now, we are live in South Memphis. I'm Jenny DePrizio.
Jenny, thank you for that update. Again, if you missed what Jenny said off the top of her live update, parents in front of the church are the elementary school parents, and that's where you can go and pick up your children. This is, again, Metropolitan Baptist Church, not too far from Cummings Elementary. You can see in the shot here on the screen that a number of parents have already gathered. Middle grade levels, so I'm assuming 6th, 7th, 8th grade. Parents can pick up their children on the side of the church, one of the entrances on the side of that building. Again, we have our team everywhere gathering details for you as we continue to learn more about the shooting inside Memphis, Shelby County School in South Memphis. That 13-year-old was taken to LeBonheur Children's Hospital in critical condition. We're going to get updates from our other members of our team as we continue our team coverage on this breaking news, this urgent breaking news. If we can, producers in the booth, let me know if we have Brittany or Brad available, and we will go to them just for an update, just so that we can kind of reset in here and get more details. All right, let's go to Brittany Moncrief. ABC 24's Brittany Moncrief is live for us outside LeBonheur. Brittany, what can you tell us?
Well, John, you know, not much has changed since we arrived here a little while ago, maybe about 20 or 30 minutes ago. We did notice when we got here on the scene that there were police officers that were sitting outside LeBonheur Children's Hospital emergency entrance. We haven't seen anyone coming in and out just yet. No family, no other people coming in and out. But those vehicles are stationed right outside of the emergency entrance. There's a combination of some marked vehicles and some unmarked cars, but we saw at least 4. Again, this is the hospital where the 13-year-old victim was taken to. We're told that he is in critical condition at this time. We'll stay here to keep you updated with any information that we find out as details continue to unfold. But for now, we're going to send it right back to you in the studio, John.
ABC 24's Brittany Moncrief reporting for us outside of LeBonheur. I know many of you at home are seeing what's happening, but we are helping you get a better understanding of kind of where things are so that you can kind of understand the depth and the distance in a number of the facilities involved. If we can, let's check in with Chelsea. She's going to kind of update us on where the church is located, where many of the students are being taken, where the scene is, kind of like an aerial view if you can, Chelsea. Just kind of set the scene for us. What's happening?
Yeah, so basically it's just expanded the original scene that we've already been watching. So just to put in perspective, if we go to the map, you can see exactly where this is. This is a big enough incident, obviously, to show up in my traffic system. And so that is going to be just south of where you see the word Memphis. So we're going to zoom in just so you have an idea of what's going on there. Again, it's South Memphis. This is Walker Avenue, obviously, that we've been showing you. It is closed between Cummings and College Street. Now, we do have 2 different areas to show you. To the east, you've got Somerville Street, if you can see where I'm circling, just on the other side of the interstate at Walker Avenue. That is where the media staging areas will be. I imagine that's where Brad Broders will be heading. But to the west, I'm going to zoom in just so you can see exactly where the church is. If you can see where I'm circling right here, north of Crown Place, so it's just between Lanao Park Drive and Porter Street. So you can see that this basically has just expanded the area of where you need to avoid. All of Walker, I would say, between Bellevue and Mississippi Boulevard is going to need to be avoided at this time. As far as alternates to get around that, unless you live directly in some of these residential areas, which you can take side streets to get to, you need to take Macklemore, Mississippi Boulevard. You've got Crump that can take you to Lamar, eventually again back to Bellevue. But Walker Avenue between Bellevue and Mississippi Boulevard right now, not completely shut down, but I would call it a no-go because with where that church is located, again, Again, I'm going to zoom in so you can see. Again, it's so close to where these streets are. This is it right here. It's going to be chaos with these teachers. I mean, these probably teachers as well, but parents parking all over. So again, we are just going to keep an eye on this. Any more information we get, we'll bring it straight to you, John.
All right, Chelsea, State Senator Ramesh Akbari releasing a statement on the Cummings Elementary school shooting. If we have that up, let's take a look here. You can see she says, "I am grateful for the fast-acting school staff members and first responders who work to keep our children safe today. And we are praying for this child to make a full recovery." The shooting at Cummings Elementary School is just so gut-wrenching. It appears a child who should have never had access to a firearm has shot another child. Preventable gun violence like this traumatizes every student, every teacher and staff member in the school family. As a community, we must say never again. That's again State Senator Ramesh Akbari acknowledging the shooting there that has played out at Cummings Elementary. We have our team everywhere this midday tracking the developments since this shooting happened around 9:15. Let's check in with ABC 24's Ginny DePrizio. She is live for us at the Metropolitan Baptist Church, where many of those students were taken from the school and evacuated. Ginny.
John, I can tell you that parents here are increasingly frustrated. They've been standing out here in the rain for a while now. They don't know exactly what's going on. It sounds like the school officials are getting ready to let some parents in. They have to prove that obviously they're here to pick up their child with some sort of an ID, or they're working out other ways to verify that. I want to talk to you and let you talk to this one parent here. Talk to me about how are you feeling right now?
Like, as I said, I'm feeling a little frustrated because I feel like they don't have an actual protocol when it comes to the kids and school shootings. There have been entirely too many shootings for them not to have a protocol, or at least let us know what's going on instead of having us out here.
So tell me, what have you been doing? You've been standing in this line for a while, and what's going on here?
Basically just standing, waiting to get clarification or clearance to go get our kids or see what's going on, but they've had us going back and forth from the front to the back. So right now they have the elementary kids and the elementary parents in the front and the middle school parents in the back. So we're waiting right now to see if we can get our kids.
Any idea how long you'll be standing out here?
About 45 minutes to an hour. I have no idea. Tiara Summerall.
That's it from Tierra. And when they start letting parents in to start picking up their kids, we will let you know, or if we get any more information on just how that process is going to work.
All right, ABC 24's Ginny DePrizio continuing our team coverage on this child shot at a South Memphis school. Ginny, thank you. Again, as the story develops, more agencies and entities are reacting to that news. Memphis City Council releasing a statement. I'm seeing it on Twitter. They say in part that they are devastated to hear about the events at Cummings Elementary School and that our thoughts and prayers are with all the students, faculty, and parents. We told you here just before we talked with Ginny that State Senator Ramesh Akbari also releasing a statement acknowledging the shooting and hoping that the child recovers and recovers well, because that child, 13, in critical condition at LeBonheur Children's Hospital. Again, let's kind of let you know where our team is as we continue to track the developments of this shooting inside the school. We have ABC 24's Brittany Moncrief for us live outside of LeBonheur Children's Hospital. She is working to gather information there. We have ABC 24's Ginny DePrizio at the Metropolitan Baptist Church. ABC 24's Brad Broders is also near the school as he works to continue gathering late-breaking details for us. Let's check in with Brittany if we can. Brittany, what are you learning?
Hey, John. Well, I'm going to step aside to let you all see the scene here at LeBonheur Children's Hospital. Again, as you mentioned, this is where the 13-year-old victim was taken. We're told that he is in critical condition. Right now, we're outside of the emergency entrance. We haven't seen a lot of people coming in and out or back and forth out of the hospital, but we did see, and we do see, at least 4 police vehicles that have been stationed outside the hospital since we arrived here earlier this morning. Again, not a lot of people coming in and out. but we are keeping an eye on the situation to bring you any updates that we may have or that we may get as we're here on the scene. Again, as you mentioned, this is just a devastating a story to cover, a devastating sight to even see, you knowing that a 13-year-old was shot near school today. And again, this is coming just a weeks after the Collierville mass shooting. So our thoughts and our prayers are with the victim, as right now he is being treated here at LeBonheur Children's Hospital in the medical district. I'm Brittany Moncrief reporting.
24's Brittany Moncrief reporting for us live at LeBonheur. Brittany, thank you. Before we transition to ABC 24's Brad Broders, who is out there in the rain gathering information, we certainly want to let you know about an important update from Shelby County Schools. They're asking all Cummings K-8 families who are trying to pick up children at Metropolitan Baptist Church, which is not too far from the school where this all went down. They say it's important that parents bring identification with them when they pick up their child, and they said additional instructions will be provided when you arrive. But again, don't forget your ID, otherwise you may not be able to bring your babies home. All right, let's get back to ABC 24's Brad Broders. He is live right now getting details for us. Brad, what have you learned?
Yeah, John, let's recap some of the highlights of what happened just a couple of minutes ago at the news conference. Here are some of the things we know according to Memphis Police and Shelby County Schools. If you're just joining us, some key new details. We are told that the suspect is also a Cummings K-8 optional school student. He is now in custody. According to Memphis Police, that student, a video showed the suspect getting into a vehicle after the shooting. According to Memphis Police, that suspect turned himself in to MPD at a precinct. Memphis Police said that victim is a 13-year-old boy who, again, is in critical condition. And as you just mentioned, John, students from that school, you saw it earlier about 11 o'clock when we were live on air, taken to several buses to Metropolitan Baptist Church. You can see behind me, we are on the other side of Interstate 240 from that school where that news conference happened a short while ago. You can still see, as far as the eye can see, Memphis police cars, flashing lights, still a very active situation, even though that student did turn himself into a precinct, according to Memphis Police a short while ago. Again, those students transported on buses to Metropolitan Baptist Church nearby from that school on Walker. And John, as you just mentioned, it's important for parents, guardians picking up those children now at that school to make sure you have the proper identification when picking up your children. Jenny DePriso is at that school right now. I want to recap you, if you're just joining us, of what some witnesses told my photographer and I on the scene a short while ago. A parent saying that her daughter in 8th grade called her, telling her that that student had shot the other student somewhere inside the school, K-8 optional school, Cummings, near here in South Memphis. So that is what parents are telling us. We captured a lot of concern, obviously, in the immediate aftermath of that shooting, a lot of worry, understandably, from parents trying to get to their students who have now been transferred over to there. So we are continuing to gather information, but parents are beginning to pick up their children at Metropolitan Baptist Church here in South Memphis near Cummings, where that shooting happened a little more than almost 3 hours ago now, John.
Brad Broders reporting for us live this morning as we continue our marathon coverage after a child was shot inside a South Memphis elementary school. We've learned from LeBonheur that they will not be releasing details in a news conference. They are going to let Memphis Police handle communications. So as far as updates on that 13-year-old who was taken to the LeBonheur Children's Hospital in critical condition, we're going to have to get that information from police. There is a staging area. We have a member of the ABC 24 team there gathering information for us. So as soon as we get that in, we will be sure to let you know, because I know there are many people at home watching and wondering how this student is doing. We don't know where he was shot. We don't know the extent of his injuries. We just know that he is in critical condition. Let's kind of regroup and let you know kind of just what we've learned here in the last 5 minutes. Shelby County Schools letting parents know that if you are planning to pick up your child, that you need to bring ID with you to Metropolitan Baptist Church. Our Jenny DePrizio was live for us outside Metropolitan Baptist Church, and she learned at one point that they were having parents pick children up in front of the church if their child was an elementary school student, and if the child were in the upper grade levels, I'm assuming 6, 7, and 8, but certainly 7th and 8th grade, that they were going to be picking children up at an entrance on the side of the school. A lot of parents say they've been waiting for about 45 minutes to an hour as they work to pick up their child. We also have learned about the suspect that he has since turned himself into police after firing the shot and then taking off in an unknown vehicle. Again, that teen is in police custody. Let's get an update from Metropolitan Baptist Church. ABC 24's Jenny DePrizio is there right now. Jenny, what have you learned?
Well, I can tell you that at this point, children are starting to be released. You'll see them coming out of this door with their parents periodically. We were there when the very first couple kids came out, and the mother was literally screaming for joy. She, however, was frustrated. As you can see over here to the left, there's still a lot of parents still waiting to get in. It seems to be that they're going in a couple at a time. And so there's frustration there. There's some not nice words are being sent. I can tell you, though, that we're told that in a few minutes, Shelby County School Superintendent Dr. Joris Ray is supposed to be here to give people an update, or I believe at least it's supposed to be somebody from the school district may be coming out to give everyone an update on what's going on. So we are waiting to hear from that. I can tell you that SCS Communications is now here on site, and they are kind of directing that update that we should be getting here shortly. So in the meantime, we are just sitting here waiting and talking to parents as they come out. Hopefully we'll hear from some more parents shortly, and hopefully we'll hear from somebody from SCS. I believe, as I said, it's going to be Dr. Joris Ray giving people an update.
ABC 24's Jenny DePrizio tracking the developments for us right now outside of Metropolitan Baptist Church. That is the area where many of the children at the school were taken for parents to pick them up. Again, if you are planning on picking up your child, take a look here. Shelby County Schools wants to make sure that you know to bring ID with you when you pick up your child at the church, which is also on Walker Avenue, not too far from the school. And as you heard Jenny mention there, many parents are getting instructions on how the evacuation process will work now that the students have been moved from the school and the threat at the school to the safe haven at the church. Let's get an update from ABC 24's Brad Broders. Brad, you've been on the scene for hours now gathering information for us. You've got a chance to talk to some parents, many of them raising a lot of security concerns and concerns about their children's safety.
Yeah, John, we arrived on the scene probably about 30 minutes after it happened. There were dozens of parents at that time right next to the school on College and Walker, understandably very worried, not knowing exactly where their children were they safe. Again, about 11 o'clock, we saw live on air, you saw it if you've been watching our live footage, we saw grade by grade students going on about a dozen buses to Metropolitan Baptist Church for that staging area, whereas Jenny just reported they're beginning to get picked up by their parents and guardians. A reminder, if you are going to Metropolitan Baptist Church and you're just joining us to pick up those students from Cummings K-8 optional school, make sure you have identification when picking up that child from that staging area. We're on the other side of the school from 240 where they gave a news conference a little while ago. Here are some of the major takeaways from that news conference. According to Memphis Police and Shelby County Schools, video showed a 13-year-old boy getting into a vehicle. We later turned out that 13-year-old boy turned himself into authorities at a precinct. Another 13-year-old boy, again, the boy shot, is in critical condition at LeBonheur Children's Hospital. That vibes a lot with what we had heard earlier in the day. We heard from a parent of an 8th grader who said that her daughter contacted her saying that a student shot another student somewhere inside the school building at Cummings K-8 optional school. 8th grade, you turn 14 in 8th grade, so that would 13, 14 would be about the age of an 8th grader. That's logical to connect those dots. Memphis City Council, the Memphis City Council Twitter account just sent out a word about 5 or 10 minutes ago. They tweeted, I'm paraphrasing here, but we are devastated by what happened at Cummings K-8 optional school earlier this morning, 3 hours ago. And John, if you're just joining us, in my mind, it needs to be re-emphasized. The scene that we were seeing earlier today, we were seeing police lifting up crime tape so young children could get onto school buses in the middle of the school morning. John, certainly quite a scene to see.
Brad, thank you for that update. We're going to interrupt you and get to Superintendent Dr. Joyce Ray outside Metropolitan Baptist Church, giving us an update on what's happening there. Let's listen in.
Board Chair McKissick and Board Member Avant, we rushed directly to Methodist LeBonheur to check on our student. This has to stop. This must stop. The gun violence must end. The schools, working closely with Memphis Police Department, we're doing all we can to keep our students safe. But I implore everyone, if you see something, say something. If you see something, say something. We can't allow our children to hurt from gun violence. So we're doing everything we can to work with our families. We had to move children from the building. We're operating our plan. Safety first. So I want to commend the principal, her staff, school operations staff, and everyone to ensure the movement from the school to the church. They're operating their plan. And I understand parents' angst. I'm a parent. I'm a parent. And I understand what they feel. But I want the parents to know we're doing everything we can to ensure we get the right child with the right parent. We're getting food in so we can start feeding our children, because this is the only place where some kids get their meals, right here at school. So we're in constant contact with parents with robocalls, text messages. We're doing everything we can to get students to a safe place, which is Metropolitan Baptist Church. They've been wonderful and great partners with us. We're operating our plan. But this is a time for the community to step up and help our children, to step up and wrap their arms around our schools. And we're gonna do everything in our power to keep this from ever happening again. And so right now, this is an active investigation. I'm finding out information by the minute. But my concern right now is getting back to LeBonheur to check on this young man. This has to stop. We need to look at our laws. This has to stop. No way a child should have a gun. This must stop. But we need the community to help us, help our children. I'm not pointing fingers, but because there's enough blame to go around. But this could have been avoided. If you see something, say something. If you know something, tell someone. But I'm so grateful to have board chair here who rushed out to the scene, board member Shante, Avant, rushed to the scene with me to ensure that our child was safe. This has to stop. Board chair.
I just want to express, certainly, my concern is for the child who was shot and his family. And we want to support them. And we also want to support all the other children. I spoke with a young child here, a 7th grader, and he was scared. He was waiting in the gymnasium for his mom to come and pick him up. And he just wanted to say, I can walk home. I said, no, we can't let you walk home. We need to release you to the adult that's on record for you, because we want to make sure that every child stays safe. We're going to be working with these children. The superintendent, you often hear him talk about that social, emotional aspect. That's what we have to work on now, is making sure that the children who were not physically injured and having to deal with this, that they will be concerned and cared for through the social and emotional support that they need. As you mentioned, I'm a parent too, and I would be terrified to know that something like this happened at my school where my child attends. But I know that the administration, the teachers, the principals, they're always looking out for the well-being of our children. So, it may seem like it was chaotic, and it was initially, but the plan kicked in, and now you can see there's calm. We're dismissing children to their families and making sure that they're safe. So thank you, Dr. Ray. I want to mention our board member who actually has been a part of this district for 8 years, Shante Avon.
Yeah, so I just want to commend the school and the administration for really implementing our school emergency plan. That was, and we just had an active shooter training for all of our school personnel on October 2nd. So September 2nd, I'm sorry. So timely to what has happened here today. Our schools personnel and administrators were prepared so that we could make sure our students were safe. Thank you to our partners here at Metropolitan Baptist Church also for being a safe haven for us to bring our students to. As parents are picking up students and the community is really wondering what's happening now, please know what we
All right, obviously the rain is coming down there, and so we cannot ignore the impact that is having on our news gathering process there. The rain, the cooler weather will zap a battery, and we're assuming that's what happened there. But in the meantime, let's just kind of update you. Okay, we apparently have them back. Let's listen in.
They're scared and they're afraid. And just seeing those parents walk up to their students, to their babies and hug them. I mean, one little girl just hugged on her mom's leg. I mean, you could see the fear in their eyes. So now it's out.
Okay, again, live TV. Sometimes we have signal issues and issues with the weather creating a problem. But let's just recap real quickly. If we go back, we can. But in the meantime, let's just recap what we learned from Superintendent Dr. Joyce Ray, obviously calling on the community to step up and help the children to avoid having this senseless violence just ravage our community. He said that he's going to LeBonheur Children's Hospital to get an update on the child shooting victim. We know that our Brittany Moncrief is on the scene there. So as soon as we see Dr. Joyce Ray approaching the LeBonheur doors, we will get to Brittany to get an update on that playing out. But in the meantime, let's go back to ABC 24's Brad Broders, who is live for us. Brad, what have you since learned?
Well, John, a lot of news is coming out in the last hour from Memphis Police and Shelby County Schools. You heard Superintendent Dr. Joyce Ray a little while ago. What we do know, if you're just joining us, is that according to Memphis Police and Shelby County Schools, a 13-year-old child was seen leaving the school in a vehicle after that shooting. We have learned that that child, that 13-year-old boy, turned himself into authorities at another MPD precinct. We do know at this hour that 13-year-old boy who was shot and is being treated at LeBonheur Children's Hospital currently listed in critical but stable condition. I want to re-emphasize that, critical but stable condition. We're on the other side of 240 from that school here on Walker, where that press conference happened in the last hour or so. We've been on this scene since about 3 hours since that shooting occurred. We've seen those children leaving on buses to the school, to that staging area at Metropolitan Baptist Church. A little after 11 o'clock, we saw grade by grade going on bus by bus to go to that staging center in the middle of the morning when those students should have otherwise been learning reading, writing, and arithmetic. Instead, they were taken to a staging area after a shooting. We are told by a parent of another student at Cummings that shooting happened somewhere inside the school. We don't know if that was a hallway, a corridor, or in a specific classroom, but according to a parent, that daughter of that parent contacted the mother saying that's where she knew what was going on inside Cummings K-8 optional school here in the heart of South Memphis. Even though, according to Memphis police, that student turned himself in at another MPD precinct, this is still an active scene. As far as the eye can see, there's flashing lights going on. And when we arrived on scene about 10 o'clock this morning, we saw dozens of parents understandably worried about their child's whereabouts. We've heard frustration from other parents about security at the school. We heard that there is a metal detector, according to that parent, but she was a little concerned about the potential uneven times of when metal detectors may have been in play, may have not been in play. Clearly, a weapon made its way somehow into that school. That will be one of the many questions being sorted out by Memphis police and Shelby County schools. You would have to imagine there's going to be a district-wide review of security policies at schools. It's K-8, elementary, high schools, middle schools, etc. after this incident, because this is a serious situation that happened inside an SCS building earlier this morning that again forced all students at Cummings K-8 optional school to be forced to go to a staging center late morning. They're not in the classroom right now. They're being picked up by their parents and guardians. And John, if you're just joining us, if you are going to Metropolitan Baptist Church to pick up your child at Cummings K-8 optional school, bring identification. That is what is required to picking up a child. And John, a lot of reactions starting to come in. State Senator Ramesh Akbari sending a statement in the last hour. The Memphis City Council as a collective body talking about how devastated they were to learn about the shooting that happened this morning. Many questions, many details left to sort out, but if you're just joining us, that 13-year-old boy shot, being treated at LeBonheur Children's Hospital in critical but stable condition. That's the last word we have. At this point, we are not expecting an additional news conference from those at LeBonheur Children's Hospital, and we're also not clear right now if there's going to be an additional update from Memphis Police later in the day. Obviously, if there is one, we will take that live, and we will recap that live as this fluid situation continues here in South Memphis. But, John, again, you can see, as far as the eye can see, police cars, lights flashing, still active, even though, according to Memphis police, that 13-year-old boy who authorities say shot his fellow student turned himself into a Memphis police precinct sometime this morning. John.
ABC 24's Brad Broders continuing our team coverage on this urgent breaking news of a child shot at a South Memphis elementary school. Brad, thank you. New details that we just got into the newsroom here just moments ago. We have learned that that 13-year-old who was shot was taken to the LeBonheur Children's Hospital, is now in surgery. We're waiting to get updates on their condition after the procedure, but that child is now in the middle of surgery at LeBonheur Children's Hospital. We've also learned here within the last minute or so that the lockdown at Cummings Elementary has been lifted. Obviously, we got a number of investigators who were inside the school building processing the scene, gathering evidence to try and paint a picture through the evidence of what exactly went on, leading up to and following the shooting there of that 13-year-old from another student inside the school. But within the last 2 minutes or so, we have just learned that child is now in surgery, and we have also heard from the superintendent that they have really just called on the community, imploring people in our community to step up and end the gun violence and help our children. He also, Superintendent Dr. Juris Ray, is headed to LeBonheur to get an update on the child shooting victim. Superintendent Ray, along with several board members, were outside the Metropolitan Baptist Church. They were talking just about their concerns and kind of updating us on what happened. The children pickup is underway right now. We are told that parents in front of the church, that's where elementary parents should go, and on the side entrances of the church middle school, middle grade level, 6th, 7th, 8th grade can pick up their children there. But make sure you bring ID with you when you go. That is something that Shelby County Schools has emphasized, as many parents are obviously they're frantic, and as you can see, the lines there are long as parents try to pick up their children with this early dismissal. We're also getting a better picture too, and a better understanding of just kind of how the school day played out. We've learned that the school day began at 7:45 this morning, and the shots were initially reported around 9:15 this morning. So that's about an hour and a half into the school day for the students there, just learning as usual. And then this happens, and then they spent most of their morning out in an area, a holding area, as police there investigated and combed the scene to make sure that there were no other imminent threats inside the school building and to make sure that everyone was okay. But again, as we just learned, that lockdown is lifted. Parents are picking up their children. The suspect is in custody, and the child shooting victim, a 13-year-old, is currently in surgery. If we can, let's reset. Let's go to ABC 24's Jenny DePrizio. Okay, before we go to Jenny, let's go to parents reacting to what we have just learned, what has just been an emotional day for them. Let's listen in.
This has to stop. This must stop. The gun violence must end. The schools, working closely with Memphis Police Department, we're doing all we can to keep our students safe. But I implore everyone, if you see something, say something. If you see something, say something. We can't allow our children to hurt from gun violence.
I didn't know who child it was, but my heart go out to anybody trying to send their kids to school to get an education. They need to be able to get an education. They shouldn't have to get a call from work or whatever, and their kids, people are shooting in the school.
Praise to God, it gets better. I hope that they get more security in these schools, more security around in this area, period. When children's got to come home, walking home, fighting and all of that, it's unnecessary.
And again, there is still so much that we don't know here at 12:18. If you are just joining us, we are interrupting regularly scheduled programming, tracking this urgent breaking news after a child was shot inside a South Memphis elementary school. We're talking about Cummings Elementary School on Walker Avenue and Cummings, the intersection there, not too far from 240 and Lemoyne Owen College. That 13-year-old is currently at LeBonheur Children's Hospital in critical condition at last check. The child is in surgery, and we are waiting, to get an update on that child's condition after being rushed to the hospital. You can see on the map here highlighted on the screen where the shooting is, and we have our crews spread out all over the scene there and nearby at the Metropolitan Baptist Church, where parents are going to pick up their children. If we can, let's get Jenny DePrizio in the conversation just to update us on how things are going there. We'll check in with her as soon as we get her up. But in the meantime, let's look at some statements, because obviously this is something that the entire community is reacting to. We will show that to you here in just a few seconds, but let's get an update from ABC 24's Brittany Moncrief, who is live for us outside of LeBonheur. Brittany, we just learned that child is in surgery.
That's right, John. We're outside of LeBonheur Hospital where the 13-year-old victim who was shot, the boy, he is in surgery right now. We are currently standing outside of the emergency room, outside of the Children's Hospital. I'm going to step aside just so you can see a little bit of how the setup is here. Outside the emergency entrance, we see several police vehicles that have been parked there all morning long since we arrived. We did see another kind of arrive here at the hospital. There's also been 2 SUVs that have been parked in the front entrance. The way it's set up is where the ambulance comes in, there's a roundabout, and then adjacent to that that is a parking lot for family and guests. So far, where the ambulance entrance are those police cars that we've been seeing all morning, as well as the 2 SUVs that have been parked there all morning. And again, we are told that the 13-year-old boy is in surgery right now here at LeBonheur Children's Hospital. And again, this is just a devastating day for this community to have to go through yet another shooting, as you heard from parents and from the superintendent and a lot of the other officials here in the county, that they want the violence to end. Just yesterday, we spoke with Memphis Artists for Change, who this is their Love Now week, in which they are hoping to promote crime reduction. So this is going to take a community effort, as you've heard many people say time and time again, but they want the violence to end. And we'll remain here outside of the Children's Hospital, where currently the 13-year-old boy is in surgery. And again, our hearts and prayers go out to him and his family and all the students, faculty, and administration who were there as everything unfolded this morning. In the medical district, I'm Brittany Moncrief reporting.
Brittany, thank you for that. Again, if you are a parent of the child in surgery, a parent of the children inside the school that had to endure what they just went through, your heart certainly goes out to everyone involved. Just a tough situation all around. And the community is reacting to what has played out this morning here as we approach 3 hours since the initial shot was fired. Let's get us a comment here from Shelby County Mayor Lee Harris. He issued a statement saying in part that today a child has been critically injured from a gunshot wound while in school. We pray for the victim of this most recent shooting and all of the young people who face this unthinkable trauma. We also pray for the wisdom and courage needed to begin to curb gun violence. State Senator Ramesh Akbari also releasing a statement on the Cummings Elementary school shooting, saying in part, I am grateful for the fast-acting school staff members and first responders who work to keep our children safe today, and we are praying for this child to make a full recovery. She goes on to say the shooting at Cummings Elementary School is just so gut-wrenching. It appears a child who should have never had access to a firearm has shot another child. Preventable gun violence like this traumatizes every student, teacher, and staff member in the school family. As a community, we must say never again. Memphis City Council also releasing a statement on Twitter. You could see that here on the screen, saying that they are devastated to hear about the events at Cummings Elementary School. Our thoughts and prayers are with all the students, all the faculty, and the parents as well. And again, we just can't forget remarks from Superintendent Dr. Joyce Ray and the board members at the school about 30 minutes ago. An impassioned plea to end the gun violence in our community. That's coming from Dr. Joyce Ray, saying that we cannot allow our children to hurt from gun violence. And he says, as a parent, he understands the importance of this, and it's so critical. It's an important time for our community to step up and help our children. In fact, let's listen to other remarks from Superintendent Dr. Joyce Ray outside Metropolitan Baptist Church.
This has to stop. This must stop. The gun violence must end. The schools, working closely with Memphis Police Department, we're doing all we can to keep our students safe. But I implore everyone, if you see something, say something. If you see something, say something. We can't allow our children to hurt from gun violence.
And as you heard there, Shelby County School Superintendent Dr. Joyce Ray, joined by other Shelby County School Board members as well. Just that impassioned plea to help our children. Here's what we know at this hour here as we continue our hours-long coverage of this breaking news in South Memphis. A child, a 13-year-old, was shot this morning at Cummings Elementary School. That child is currently in surgery right now. The shooting suspect was a student at the school and has since turned himself into police. Cummings Elementary school students were taken to Metropolitan Baptist Church. We know that Cummings K-8 school features about 495 students in grade levels K through 8, and we saw many of them standing out in the rain being shuttled from that school to Metropolitan Baptist Church, where their parents are now coming to pick them up. The lockdown has also since been lifted at the school. We know that the police and district officials kept the school on lockdown as they worked to gather information from the scene and to make sure that there were no other imminent threats to the students, staff, and faculty at the building. Again, if you are just joining us, certainly an emotional day, a frantic day for a lot of the parents in South Memphis with children at that school. And just as a parent in general, when you hear news of a school shooting, your heart just immediately stops and drops because of the fear of something like this playing out. Again, we know it was just one student involved, one student victim, but still the threat and the fear of all this playing out certainly will be in the minds of all of the students at this school, I'm sure, in the days, weeks, and months to come. As you can see here on our map on the screen, Cummings Elementary is near the intersection of Walker and Cummings, and the scene spreads out. We got Metropolitan Baptist Church nearby. That's where students were taken. Police had a staging area about a block away near Somerville and Walker Avenue, and obviously LeBonheur Children's Hospital is the other scene that we are kind of keeping our eye on what's happening there. We also learned that Superintendent Dr. Joris Ray, after leaving the scene at Metropolitan Baptist Church as parents pick up their children, he is on his way to LeBonheur Children's Hospital to get an update on that 13-year-old who was rushed there and is currently in surgery this midday. So now that we have kind of caught you up on what we know right now, we're going to check in with our members of our team here in a little bit to kind of just update you on what we know right now. But you're taking a live look here at LeBonheur Children's Hospital, again, where that child is in custody, and Superintendent Joris Ray is headed there as we speak to learn more about that child's condition. And obviously, he is on the minds of everyone here and the community as we just deal with, another act of violence playing out in our community again this week. Let's check in with ABC 24's Brad Broders. Brad, catch us up. What have you learned?
John, just the last 60 seconds, we arrived here at Metropolitan Baptist Church, that staging area where parents are picking up the children of K through 8 optional school, Cummings Elementary. I'm going to step out. We're going to try to be, we're obviously being careful here. We don't want to show any students' faces, but you can see up there on the steps the long line of parents walking into Metropolitan Baptist Church here on Walker Avenue, just a stone's throw from the school, picking up their loved ones, the K through 8 students. Just being here 60 seconds rather, you can really tell the emotion of these parents who have picked up their children. I just saw a child, probably I would say second or third grade, being picked up, and just you could tell she was concerned. The mother appeared to be wiping away tears. So just get a sense of the emotion going on right now here outside Metropolitan Baptist Church as parents are picking up their children one by one. Hundreds of students, obviously, at this school being picked up and coming across the hour. And John, I also want to just touch base again with some more reaction coming in. I was off the live for a couple of minutes, but if you're just joining us, Shelby County Mayor Lee Harris posted, today a child has been critically injured from a gunshot wound while in school. We pray for the victim of this most recent shooting and all the young people who face this unthinkable trauma. We also pray for the wisdom and courage needed to begin to curb gun violence. If we could demonstrate an ounce of the courage showed by the first responders who risked their lives when they answer these calls, we should ask it. It's past time. So that's just more of the reaction coming in. State Senator Ramesh Akbari, Memphis City Council members also weighing in this morning, reacting to the shooting inside Cummings K through 8 optional school in South Memphis. We're just a stone's throw from LeBonheur College, right around the corner from Stacks. We are in the heart of South Memphis, where Dr. Ray just spoke a little while ago to our Jenny DePrizio. He's now heading to LeBonheur Children's Hospital, where at last check, that 13-year-old boy shot is in critical but stable condition. But also, we learned in the last couple of minutes, John, as you just noted, that child also going into surgery. So there's going to be a lot of thought, a lot of discussion about the issue of gun violence. This is just, again, been brought to the surface yet again as another child, 17 or younger, shot. We've covered throughout the year, throughout this summer, about those children who were shot and killed, including Kelby Shorty, just 7 years old, minding his own business on the night of the 4th of July, getting shot and killed in a drive-by shooting, not the intended target. He died that night. That drew a lot of attention, understandably, to the issue. This is another one of those cases, because we are talking about a school where you have children as young as 5 years old in kindergarten up to the age of 14, a wide range of children who are traumatized this morning, dealing with a brief lockdown, then leaving their classroom and going to the staging area behind me. John, I'm just going to step out one more time and just give you another sense right now of the scene as parents are picking up their children. Again, we want to be careful not showing any faces right now with children, but I can tell you there's a lot of parents right now with their arms around their children, a lot of hugs going on right now. Again, if you're heading right now to this area, picking up your child at Metropolitan Baptist Church, if you're just joining us, SCS tells us that you need to bring photo identification. You can see the line is pretty lengthy right now for those students inside. We were there. You saw it live. If you've been watching this footage for hours, you saw that children were picked up in buses, several buses taken from the school, outside the school, to the staging area nearby at Metropolitan Baptist Church after a brief lockdown. Just circling back to what we can recap if you're just joining us, according to Memphis Police in a news conference a little after 11 o'clock, they said that video showed another 13-year-old boy leaving the school in a vehicle, and that 13-year-old boy turned himself into police. A couple of hours ago, we spoke with a parent of an 8th grade student at Cummings. That parent said her daughter contacted her and said one student shot another student. We're trying to pinpoint exactly what part of the school this shooting occurred. Was it in a hallway? Was it in a stairwell? Was it in a classroom? But certainly a traumatic experience for students and staff at Cummings K-8 optional school. Hundreds of students attend that school here in the heart of South Memphis. So, John, we're here as more and more parents are picking up their children, and we're going to continue our live team coverage. Reporting live in South Memphis, I'm Brad Broders reporting. John.
All right, Brad, thank you for that. And Brad, I hope that you'll get a chance to perhaps talk with a couple of parents with their children, just so that we can kind of flesh out what perhaps happened inside the school. So I know that you're busy. I hope you can get that for us, and we can check back in with you with some insight on that. In the meantime, we certainly know that the 13-year-old who was shot is in the middle of surgery at LeBonheur Children's Hospital. We know that the suspect has turned himself in, but there's still a lot that we don't know here as we continue our hours-long coverage on this shooting at the school. Right now, our team is still working to find out where the shooting happened. From parents and witnesses on the scene, we've learned that the shooting happened inside the school. We're trying to nail down where exactly. Was it a classroom? Was it a hallway? So that's one of the things that we have our eye on. We're also working to gather details from police and school officials about the events that led up to this shooting. Was this a situation where, something perhaps was brewing? We don't know, and that's why we are taking those questions to our officials with Shelby County Schools and Memphis Police. And who did the child shooting suspect leave with? Because we know that he left school after the shooting happened, and we know that he left in an unmarked car, and we don't know who he left with and where that child shooting suspect went after the shooting took place. So again, we're trying to get answers to all of those questions. But again, this urgent breaking news that we're following for you now here for hours now, as it continues to play out, we will be sure to get those updates to you just as soon as they come into the newsroom. Let's check in with Chelsea. Chelsea, obviously, this had traffic impacted for hours today.
Yeah, and it still does. We actually are still seeing this area closed off. It's still showing up on my traffic map, so that's how you know it's a serious incident, because typically these types of any kind of police incident doesn't just show up on a traffic map. So if you want to take a look at that, I can give you a perspective of where that is within the city. You look at the 240 loop, it is just outside of it in South Memphis. So we'll zoom in a little bit closer and you can see exactly Walker Avenue. Here's where it is shut down for now between College Street and Cummings Street. That's exactly where the school is. You can watch my mouse. There it is, right there, right underneath the blue part of that police signal. As far as where the media staging was, where Brad was earlier, that is just to the east of 240. Here's 240 right there. There's Somerville Street. The church where parents are at right now, if we move a little farther west, is going to be right here, just right by Crown Plaza. So here's the deal. Unless you live in these neighborhoods right here, which you do have multiple streets, you're going to need to take different options to give these parents, these school officials, everyone just a chance to give them the right of way to get out of this scenario and do the job that they need to do as well. So to the west, you have Mississippi Boulevard. To the south, you have Macklemore. You do have 240, which you can take as well. But if you continue on Macklemore, you can take Bellevue Boulevard, which will take you to Lamar, and eventually Crump. So that's one giant circle. And I understand you may not want to do that. But again, you need to give these teachers, parents, the families, but especially the first responders, the area they need and the space they need to be able to get this investigation done. So again, expect this to be closed indefinitely. They have not given us any kind of time. But again, here is where we are, 240 and Walker. There is the school right underneath that symbol, closed between Cummings and College. The church itself, 2 blocks away, right at Walker, and just you can see Crown Place right there. So that's the church where parents are picking up their children now, frantically, obviously, as you could see, very desperate to get their kids home. So again, just avoid this area. Thankfully, it is a time of day we aren't seeing too much travel happening, but as I imagine, as we get later in the day and people start heading home to these areas, it may become a little bit more problematic. So again, if you are listening and you live near these areas, you know these side streets, you know Porter, you know Lanao, you know College Park, Alston. Make sure you stay away from Walker today. It's going to be probably a scene, possibly even into tomorrow. We don't know yet at this point if the school will be reopened or if they're going to continue to have this scene closed off. So that'll be something we'll have for you and bring it to you as soon as we know.
All right, Chelsea, again, as we continue to track the developments here in a school shooting at a South Memphis elementary school, Cummings K-8 optional school, the community is certainly reacting. We have received a number of statements in from local elected officials, from the Memphis City Council. If we can, let's pull some of those up and kind of go down the list here as the community continues reacting to this news. We begin with a statement from Memphis City Council posting on Twitter about an hour ago that they are devastated to hear about the events at Cummings Elementary School. Our thoughts and prayers are with all the students, faculty, and parents. We also received a statement this morning from Shelby County Mayor Lee Harris. He released a statement saying in part that today a child has been critically injured from a gunshot wound while in school. We pray for the victim of this most recent shooting and all the young people who face this unthinkable trauma. We also pray for the wisdom and courage needed to begin to curb gun violence. And then Tennessee State Senator Ramesh Akbari releasing a statement on that shooting at Cummings Elementary, saying in part that I am grateful for the fast acting school staff members and first responders who work to keep our children safe today. And we are praying for this child to make a full recovery. She goes on to say the shooting at Cummings Elementary School is just so gut-wrenching. It appears a child who should have never had access to a firearm has shot another child. Preventable gun violence like this traumatizes every student, teacher, and staff member in the school. As a community, we must say never again. Now, we've also learned from Dr. Joyce Ray and school board members outside Metropolitan Baptist Church that Shelby County Schools had an active shooter drill earlier this month. We also learned here that the 13-year-old shooting victim is currently in surgery at this hour, and that the shooting suspect, a fellow student, a fellow classmate, has turned himself into police. We have reaction from parents as well on the scene, frantic as you can easily understand why. If we can, let's listen into what they had to say as they were waiting to pick up their children from Metropolitan Baptist Church in the school.
I didn't know who child it was, but my heart go out to anybody trying to send their kids to school to get an education. They need to be able to get an education. They shouldn't have to get a call from work or whatever, and their kids, people are shooting in the school.
Praise to God, it gets better. I hope that they get more security in these schools, more security around in this area, period. When children's got to come home, walking home, fighting and all of that, it's unnecessary.
And we are sure right now,
this must stop. The gun violence must end. The schools, working closely with Memphis Police Department, we're doing all we can to keep our students safe. But I implore everyone, if you see something, say something. If you see something, say something. We can't allow our children to hurt from gun violence.
and I was just saying that I'm sure that there are a number of parents out there at Metropolitan Baptist Church breathing a sigh of relief as they are finally reunited with their children who were originally in school. School started at 7:45 today. The shot was fired around 9:15. Those students were moved to a staging area as police combed the school, making sure that there were no other, threats inside the building. And then they were shuttled on a school bus to Metropolitan Baptist Church. Let's get to ABC 24's Brad Broders, if we can. He is getting a chance to talk with some parents there as they react to the developments today. Let's listen in.
And we're going to pray that that good news continues and that that child has a speedy recovery and that family has a recovery and that we can give them some assurances once this is over that we're at least doing something at the end of the day.
Commissioner Lowry, just thanks for joining us live on ABC 24 right now. Just what's your overall reaction here to this area?
Yeah, it's devastating what's happening. This is my district. I'm passionate about not only what happens here, but in my district. The student, I've got some good news about that student, so that's hopeful. We're still praying for that student. But as I said, we're going to make sure that the school system has the resources they need to prevent this from happening again in the future. Again, we can't wave a magic wand, but there are other resources that schools need. They need to have more counselors in schools. They need to have more support for the SROs in school, maybe more police presence in schools. One incident is too many.
What kind of wake-up call is this for security in schools, not just for this school, but a re-examining district-wide?
It's a wake-up, hopefully, for this community. Unfortunately, for some of our officers, it's not a wake-up call. It's I told you so. They've been telling us this from the past. We need more resources. We need more things from SROs. We need to make sure we're supporting the school board. And we're doing that. But now we need to take this to another level and say, what other resources can we put in schools? What funding can we do to make sure it doesn't happen again, at least to our best of our ability? So it's a wake-up call for some. It's an I told you so for others.
This is your district. What kind of call do you have for community organizers, for nonviolent groups, churches, et cetera, to really up the ante and up their involvement in it to make sure guns aren't in the hands of these kids?
We need everyone's involvement when it comes to violence in the communities. The churches, the community, LeBonheur College, all the students. But most importantly, we need adults to understand not to give guns to children. Now listen, in a perfect world, there would be no illegal guns on the street. That's not going to happen. But at least we need to implore to these adults, how does a 12-year-old or 13-year-old child get a gun? That's through some adult. Leave the children out of it. Leave the children out of it. Let's keep them safe.
I couldn't help but notice being here earlier today, you saw children going on buses and police were lifting up crime tape. We're talking kindergartners, first graders, little kids. How do you hope that they're traumatized right now? How do you hope that they'll be handled and lifted up with what they've dealt with today?
These are scenes that no child should have to go through. Unfortunately, it's a reality here today. We need to make sure that we have our counselors on staff available for these schools. We need to put more resources to Cummings. So it means we got to take them from other schools for the time being. We need to do that because these children have been traumatized. The parents have been traumatized. this is not normal. And if we do nothing, we consider it to be normal. We consider this to be a normal for children to see crime scenes. Then we need to understand this is not a normal incident. We're doing more than we need to make sure there are more resources in these schools where it doesn't happen again. My heart goes out to those children. I have 2 children that are in the school system as well. I couldn't imagine getting that phone call if I had to go to my daughter's school right now and to go pick her up. So my heart breaks for these children, but we need to let them understand that we're here for them, and this is not normal.
We are hearing the child is hopefully going to be okay. That's what you're hearing as well?
I am. I'm hearing good news. Again, I didn't want to speak too soon about that because obviously that's in God's hands. But the news we've been hearing is very, very encouraging. So we're going to pray that good news continues for that student and for that family, and for them to know that once this is over, for them that we're going to be doing something. This is not going to be considered a normal incident. We're not going to turn a blind eye and go to tomorrow's news story that was yesterday. What are we doing going forward to not only help Cummings Elementary School, but other schools to make sure they have the resources in their facilities, their buildings.
Last question, Commissioner. I know this is only 3 hours or so old, but are you already thinking about what agenda items you might want to have at the next commission meeting? Or are there any things you can tell the public of what you're thinking about that you and the fellow board can do?
Yeah, I am. Obviously, the school board's responsible for dictating where funding goes, but we're the funding source. So at this point, I'm willing to have the conversation about what increased funding do they need to help support the officers they have in the school system. And I know Sheriff LeBonheur is supportive of having resources in their schools as well. But obviously, they need funding for that. So I'm willing to have the conversation about what increased funding do we need to be able to have for the school system, for their security officers, for the sheriff to have increased presence in our schools. These conversations need to be had now because, again, one incident is too many. If we have one a month from now, we'll say, why didn't we do something then? So good news is that this student is, as we reported, is on a good path to recovery. So that's a blessing. But we can't wait till we have another tragic incident for we to say, why haven't we done something? And I'm committed to doing that in our next meeting.
Commissioner Lowry, thank you so much, sir. That's Commissioner Lowry, who represents the South Memphis District. Thanks so much, sir, for that live interview. And you heard from Commissioner Lowry right there. I mean, this is a situation that is really, really drawing the attention of everyone in this community and elected leadership. We've heard from State Senator Ramesh Akbari already today, representing Shelby County Mayor Lee Harris, Memphis City Council. This is an event that is really drawing strong emotion from everyone in this community. And you just heard from Commissioner Lowry right there. They are in control of SCS's finances. And you just heard him and fellow board members likely going to bring an agenda item at their next meeting addressing this head on, whether it's at Cummings security specifically or more broadly security enhancements at Shelby County schools as a whole. Cummings is a K-8 school. You have a variety of ages from 5 to about 14 years old. Wide range, but as you just heard from Commissioner Lowry, somehow a gun got inside that school building earlier this morning, and that to him is unacceptable, to elected officials across this area unacceptable. So news there, but if there is a positive to take out of this, you just heard Commissioner Lowry discuss that, and we're hearing confirmation also from LeBonheur that the child, the 13-year-old boy, shot earlier this morning inside Cummings K-8 optional school, expected to be okay following surgery. Initially, he was in critical condition. Then we heard he was in critical but stable condition, went into surgery. But the word we are getting this hour, that child, thankfully, going to be expected to be okay. But things are settling a little in this area for now, but there's long-term a lot of questions, a lot of things to address, specifically with security inside Shelby County schools, Cummings School, and how a weapon got into the hands of this 13-year-old child who, again, Memphis police said was seen leaving in a car from the school and later turned himself in at a Memphis police precinct. We did learn also that there will be another update from Memphis police at 3 o'clock. We plan to stream that live. I'll provide live Twitter updates, live recap after that news conference concludes. John.
ABC 24's Brad Broders live for us at Metropolitan Baptist Church. That is the area where many of those children are being picked up from their parents. And you heard Brad mention here just minutes ago that this is certainly drawing a lot of attention around the community within South Memphis, within Memphis and Shelby County. It's also drawing attention from around the country as many people start to learn about another incident where a shooting happened inside a local school. And during our coverage, I have mentioned several times that we know that this is at least the second school shooting in Tennessee this year. April, a teen was shot and killed at a Knoxville area high school. I want to bring in ABC 24's Yvonne Thomas. Yvonne, you worked at our sister station in Knoxville back in April when that shooting took place. And so obviously hearing today's news, this certainly kind of brings back some memories, I would imagine.
Absolutely. Heartbreaking memories. It was a very, very trying time for many in that community in Shelby County. It was a very different situation, but another school shooting as well in the state of Tennessee, the first one this year that we know of. What happened in that situation was police were actually called to Austin East High School in Knox County, where they were asked to apprehend a student at that school. Did not know at that time if that student did or did not have a gun. He did, and the gun went off during the time in which police were apprehending him. Another police officer shot that young man and he died. Again, a very different situation than what we're dealing with right now when we're talking about two kids inside of a school, where a situation escalated there with that. But one thing that's the same in both of these situations, and hopefully that we'll see in the days and the weeks and the months to come as we continue to talk about this and figure out exactly what happened, was that the community in Knox County came together, just like we're hoping that people will come together right now to talk about what changes could be made to make sure that more students don't bring guns to school, to make sure that students don't have that access to guns wherever that may be. Again, that community came together. We're seeing people talking now and expressing a lot of those feelings about wanting to do something different, wanting to see some change. And hopefully, John, we'll see that in the days and the weeks to come. But again, just another sad day within our community and within our state.
Yeah, Yvonne, and also just within the last week, as you kind of touched on, just another violent incident playing out. You know, Collierville is still fresh in our minds, and now this. It certainly has just been a real tough and challenging week for all of our communities here in Shelby County especially.
Absolutely. I mean, just 1 week ago, we were doing the same type of coverage for that mass shooting. We were here live on the air and at the scene for that devastating situation in Collierville. We're definitely still thinking about them. I know they were holding an hour of prayer today and meditation with Collierville and with their mayor just to stop and reflect, to think about the King family, the 70-year-old victim in that shooting, and as well as all of the other victims that were recovering in the hospital, the victims that were shot. It's been a heavy, heavy week for so many of us in Shelby County, but we're hoping and we're praying that brighter days are ahead of us.
So true. Prayer really is the key. Yvonne, thank you for that insight. If we can, as we are just about 10 minutes away from the 1 o'clock hour, as we continue our hours-long coverage, let's set the scene here. Viewers who may be joining us expecting to see GMA3, let's kind of catch you up on what we know right now. In fact, if we get that graphic up, we'll walk you through all of the steps. We know that the victim in this shooting is a 13-year-old who is now in surgery at LeBonheur Children's Hospital. This all happened around 9:15 this morning at Cummings K-8 optional school. This is a school that has about 500 children in grade levels K through 8. We learned that the shooting suspect is also a student, a fellow classmate, and he turned himself into police after leaving school in an unmarked car. We're working to find out who he left with and where he or she went after the shooting took place. But we, again, can confirm that the student shooter is in police custody and that Cummings Elementary School students were taken to Metropolitan Baptist Church, where parents could pick their children up, but make sure when you go that you bring picture ID with you. All right, let's listen into my producer so we can find out where we're transitioning next. All right, let's get an update from ABC 24's Brad Broders. Brad, you got a chance to talk with the commissioner just a few minutes ago. Have you had a chance to talk to any parents out there who are trying to pick up their children?
Well, John, since that interview the last couple of minutes ago, it appears right now a lot of the parents have already picked up their children. in the last probably 10, 15 minutes, it appeared that the last of those parents were taking their children out of this school here at Metropolitan Baptist Church. You can still see police here on Walker right next door to LeBonheur College. But to recap what the commissioner just said, Mikhail Lowry, if you just heard from him live on air, if you're just catching in right now, he is understandably upset. He says this incident this morning at Cummings K-8 optional school warrants significant changes in how security is done at SCS schools. Shelby County Commission is one of the major funding partners along with the state and some federal money, but primarily SCS funding comes from Shelby County commissioners. So there will be a debate very soon at the next commission meeting, according to Commissioner Lowry, where they're already going to think about ways to move funding around, potentially move equipment to certain schools. We could be discussing potentially more school resource officers, known as SROs, inside school buildings. Although this happened at one particular SCS schools, Cummings K-8 optional school, this is going to be an issue that's going to likely be a more broad examination of security at middle schools, high schools, elementary schools, because Cummings, you had children from 5 to 14 years old, quite an age range, and we could see a little while ago there was a lot of arms around a lot of children, a lot of mothers, a lot of fathers. Rebecca Butcher spoke with one parent, and she just expressed her feeling of just immense relief. We were there just 30 minutes after the shooting happened this morning, and the major worry was about the concern about those parents, John.
Yeah, easy to understand why. And Brad, after being on the scene there for hours, I know you had a chance to talk with many parents there, especially in the beginning stages of our breaking coverage, and a lot of them expressing a lot of concern, a lot of frustration, especially when it comes to efforts to minimize something like this from happening. So again, just a tough situation all the way around. Again, we have been reporting all morning long that the 13-year-old is in surgery. Let's check in with ABC 24's Brittany Moncrief, who is at LeBonheur Children's Hospital. That is where Superintendent Dr. Joyce Ray was headed. Brittany, any sighting of Dr. Ray?
John, not just yet, but we have been on the lookout. We're waiting to see his arrival. We have been stationed right outside of the emergency entrance here at LeBonheur Children's Hospital. Again, as you mentioned, this is where the 13-year-old victim was taken to and is currently in surgery. Now, since we got here earlier this morning, there were police vehicles that have been parked outside. Some of those vehicles have left, but there's still a police presence right outside the emergency entrance. There's also been 2 other SUVs that have been stationed there since we've gotten here this morning. Not a lot of people coming in and out, but as you mentioned, we are expecting Dr. Ray to be here and arrive shortly. So we've been on the lookout to see if we can spot him as he comes in, and we'll also remain here to keep you updated on any other additional information or new information that comes forth. In the medical district, I'm Brittany Moncrief reporting.
All right, Brittany Moncrief reporting for us live at LeBonheur. Brittany, thank you for that. Again, Yvonne, just a real challenging week.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A very challenging week for so many people in Shelby County. Of course, we're still talking about the shooting that happened in Collierville and Kroger, and we're talking about this shooting that happened today inside of this school. Our thoughts, our prayers are with this community. I know for a fact, though, because I dealt with a similar situation, different but similar, as it was another shooting inside of a school in the state of Tennessee, in Knox County in East Tennessee, that change does come after these different things unfold. And it's hard that something like this has to happen for us to take a look at some things that we could do differently. But change does come, and I hope that change will come. But most importantly, I hope that the community will come together here in Shelby County as they did in Knox County and know that brighter days and better days are ahead.
Yes, and I'm sure they will. We've already seen an outpouring of support and concern coming in from our elected leaders, everyone from Shelby County Mayor Lee Harris, Dr. Joyce Ray making remarks, board members making remarks, State Senator Ramesh Akbari making remarks. We still haven't had a chance to hear from Memphis Mayor Jim Strickland yet. We're trying to nail that down and get a reaction from him. But certainly an outpouring of support coming from all over the country as Cummings Elementary trends on Twitter. Certainly been following the developments there. All right, real quickly before we get you back to regularly scheduled programming, just want to update you on what we know right now. A 13-year-old was shot at Cummings Elementary in South Memphis at the K-8 optional school there. He is in surgery right now at LeBonheur Children's Hospital. The shooting suspect, who was also a student, turned himself in. That suspect, again, now in police custody, a fellow classmate. Cummings Elementary School students were taken to Metropolitan Baptist Church. Parents, if you are headed to the church to pick up your child, make sure you bring picture ID with you. A news conference is scheduled at 3 o'clock today with Memphis Police. We will bring that to you and any other developments that break online for you at abc24.com. Thanks so much for joining us for our coverage. Stay tuned.